Hey, my name is King. If you don't know who I am, my name is Israel King. I'm a writer, director, and anime commentator on my main channel, King Tannic. Now, if you've been a fan of pop culture for any amount of time, then you surely must have noticed the sudden rise in popularity in anime and manga. Films breaking box office records, series topping the most pirated show of the year chart, and of course, the very apparent fan base that has surrounded it. According to a poll back in February of this year, about 50% of Gen Z watches anime. Now, if you're not Gen Z, it can be kind of hard not knowing anything about this new, sudden, very popular corner in the pop culture zeitgeist. And that's where we come in. King Tannic and the Burnettwork have partnered to bring you the best anime and manga related news show on YouTube. The Otaku Experience is your go-to place to find out the biggest stories of the week in the anime and manga industry. Still not convinced? Try the show out for yourself. The show airs Thursdays at 2 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time or 5 p.m. Eastern. The Otaku Experience, only on the Burnettwork.
Greetings, imagination connoisseurs. Once again, it is I, your Duke of Dope Discourse, Robert Meyer Burnett. I invite you to watch and listen to the Designing Hollywood podcast, brought to you by Martika Ibarra and the great, legendary Hollywood costume designer, Marilyn Vance. I am afforded the wonderful opportunity of co-hosting the show. If you are interested in the magic of Hollywood, the design of Hollywood, the clothes of Hollywood, watch the Designing Hollywood podcast, available wherever you get your podcasts from, or find the video version on the John Campea YouTube channel. That's right, the Designing Hollywood podcast. Why would you ever want to miss it? Especially if you love the movies.
There's a company called Hot Toys, and they make these insanely realistic, renderings of characters. They do them for all the Marvel characters or whatever, and they look so much like you. It's disturbing, actually. Like, scary. They look so much like you, but they're tiny. They're like 18 inches or something like that. They actually that's what's crazy about that company is they hand make they carve the mold. The mold of
That's crazy.
It's wild.
Robservations with Robert Meyer Burnett.
Well, greetings, imagination connoisseurs. Once again, it is I, your Duke of Dope Discourse, your master of fun and wonder, your viceroy of verisimilitude, and of course, Captain America here with me. This is what I'm talking about. This is Hot Toys at their finest. This is, of course, Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson, the Falcon, and Red Wing up there. Come on, man. This is some, as Lael would tell you, this could be the Hot Toy of the year. I'm just saying. And like all good toys, I can't stop playing with it. Welcome to Midnight Musings. This is Midnight Musings 55. Oh my God, it's 55. And of course, it's not a show without my lovely co-host. You know her, you love her. She's
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing well. Always love being here for Midnight Musings, Robert. And there's so much to talk about. Feeling great. It's summertime. I can't say
summertime. Oh, demonetized.
What?
I don't know.
My goodness.
By the way, you know what else? You know what else I got? Some 6-scale goodness.
Oh my gosh, it's a captain's chair.
Enterprise Command Chair from the Enterprise E. Thank you very much.
Oh, wow.
And you know what? It's very cushy. It's very cushy, and it lights up and makes noises.
Well, you need some comfort being the captain. You should have it. Probably has the seat is heated, and it probably has a little massagers there in the back, and
yeah, it's only a massager. Yeah, it's a massager, all right. No, so I'm very happy, to get these Exo 6. The Exo 6, man, they're kicking it into high gear. They're shipping Locutus and like Harry Kim in a couple like this week or something. What are you gonna do?
I got my Chakotay, which I knew I was going to get, and I'm very happy with it. I mean,
how great is that face sculpt?
Oh, it's so wonderful. Everything they make comes out outstanding, and there's no other place to get it. We have to get them now because it's not going to be around forever. This is a very good time for 1/6 scale collecting for Star Trek figures, Robert. I've never
Oh,
seen anything like this quality
no,
before.
it's the best. It's the best. And you're gonna get. I mean, they're gonna ship Harry, Kim, Tom Paris, and we get B'Elanna and Neelix, and the Voyager crew is done.
Oh gosh, I
So
can't believe it. It's so amazing. And what they're doing with the figures, they look remarkable. I'm just so happy with everything I've purchased from them.
yeah, they're really great, and I love all the how the accessories are all magnetized and stuff. It's so cool. Although I need to get a second Cisco.
Really?
Yeah, because I want to do that pose where his tunic, his jacket is open, and you can see the red vest underneath, so I can have him hoist up the the phaser rifle and do that pose.
Yes.
So he looks badass, like he's in coming out of the Dominion Wars, coming out of fight, fierce. So yeah.
I also want to put a leather jacket on him, like back in the day when he was playing, I can't remember the character, but where else am I going to get an Avery Brooks figure that looks like that?
Well, you know what you can do is you can buy like somebody, I think Anthony, 6 Scale Mafia is going to buy like a 50s outfit where Avery Brooks, where Cisco was Benny, the sci-fi writer in the 50s from the episode Far Beyond the Stars. So you can have a 50s Cisco. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I would love.
Gonna make him look like the way he looked in Spencer for Hire. So, I like
Oh,
that
you're going
leather.
for the Hawk look.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's like, is that like a leather waistcoat or something?
Yeah. And he's going to look very badass, very cool. He's gorgeous. They did such a great job with Cisco.
Yeah, and the accessories are dope. I mean, he comes with the whiskey glass he's drinking. I can live with it. He comes with a whiskey glass and a baseball.
Yes, because he always would hold that baseball when he was thinking. It was so much part of his personality, and I just love what they've done with him. It's just so good. I've got to tell you, I hope this isn't. I don't know how long they're going to be making figures, but I just hope they continuously make figures so we can just enjoy all of Star Trek that we can, because I don't want them to ever stop making figures.
Well, they're only going to do it for a limited time. They didn't, which is, I think he only had the license for 5 years or something. But as long as we get Disco McCoy and the so they're making the Wrath of Khan. They're doing Kirk, Spock, McCoy, Saavik, and Khan. Mm-hmm. I got to have those.
Yeah, I've got to get Khan. It has to be the one where he's got his shirt open.
Oh, yeah.
It's got to be that version of Ricardo Montalban. For me, with the 80s hair, I've got it. It's got to be real hair. Maybe they can do real hair, but it's got to be that 80s look. Well,
they are going to give him rooted hair on his head. I think you got to go for the Khan coif.
Absolutely, it's absolutely seductive, and he's just amazing looking in that. So I've got to have that.
You never told him the tale, no, to amuse your captain. That's what
I love it.
Me too.
Well, Robert, I've been all riled up and just like in heat from this episode of Strange New World. And I know that you have a rant about it, Robert, but you can't deny how hot everything is in this episode. Apparently Spock is like on fire. He's literally drooling for Christine, and, seeing him in that form-fitting outfit on the bridge, even my mind is going, Robert, I haven't seen Spock like this ever, but it's season 2 of the Love Boat in Space.
The high school Love Boat, the adolescent Love Boat, the YA Love Boat. They're all 18-year-old horny teenagers that have watched too much internet porn but haven't had enough real contact. I mean, you mean the characters that are all out of character, and it's.
Yes, there's a lot of out of character activity, and they even said so. You're the best Vulcan that doesn't behave like a Vulcan I've ever met. Clearly,
I mean I mean, I don't know who they're writing this show for, because they're clearly not writing it for Star Trek fans. I mean, I did do a rant today, a 2-hour rant.
Robert, you did.
I ranted, and it just gets more and more like I understand that people like the show. It's fine. I get it. I just wish they were writing an adult science fiction allegorical action adventure show. Mm-hmm. Because, by the way, having seen the first 6 episodes, there's not a whole lot of that. It's a show that's like only about Star Trek, and it's a weird. They even do a show with Spock's in-laws this season.
Oh.
I'm like, come on, Spock's in-laws. Of course, T'Pring comes back, and they have to have a ceremony. And there's an episode where they go talk to these aliens that are in Vulcan's star system, and so there's an accident, and they accidentally make Spock all human.
I thought you were going to tell me there's an episode where Spock is with T'Pring and he accidentally yells out, Christine! And he's, oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, no, they have a conversation about it. It's like, why am I watching this? I mean, I'm watching it because I had to watch all 6 episodes. I'm like, you have 10 episodes that are extraordinarily expensive to make.
Yes.
And you're making a show about your in-laws and having to go through an engagement ceremony? I will say this, they bring back What's-Her-Face that played his mom in Discovery, and she was really good. And they had some poignant scenes. It wasn't terrible. But the whole idea of wasting an episode on this story, and, you know, to me, gimmick Star Trek episodes are fine. But it's like every episode is a gimmick episode in this show. There's no straightforward, really interesting science fiction shows. It's like, okay, we got the Klingons and we're sharing this planet. It's like, give me a show where they go to a planet they've never been to before. They encounter a civilization they don't know, and the civilization mirrors us in some strange way, and they get involved, and they have to make moral and ethical decisions about what to do.
Exactly. But Robert, I can't deny the fact that I found it appealing to see Spock just absolutely drooling over Christina. I mean, I can't remember the last time a man greeted me at the transporter room crying, you know, looking over me saying, please don't be dead. Please don't be dead. Honestly, Robert.
That happens to me every day. I have girls just coming in, peeling my grapes. Don't be dead. There's a girl on the internet, this hot girl that lives in the next town, Ukaipa. She's smoking hot. Her name's Roxy. She sends me her OnlyFans account all the time. She goes, do you want to smash? And I go, you mean smash buttons to play Ghost of Tsushima? She says she's in the next town. I told her she should come on the show.
Well, you know something, Robert, you know, with all due respect for this show, I think that the chemistry that's on the bridge between Spock when he is in that captain's chair and everybody around him is just absolutely infectious. You know, I did like seeing them sort of see Spock go outside of the box in this, and they're like, are you sure he's giving us the right command? Are you what did he say?
First of all, the fact look, Spock is a badass. The fact that they've infantilized him and they make him like this infant character that people would even doubt and take second thoughts. I said this on my rant, but I'm gonna say it again right now. When Ortegas, who I don't believe Ortegas has been through the military at all, the way she talks to everybody, but I mean, I keep waiting for her to bring the keg out and go, look, here's the red cups, man. Let's get crunked on cheap beer, on Bud Light. And I think that I watch this. So if I was writing the show and Spock had to come up, well, do the thing, man. What's your thing going to be, dude? What's your thing going to be? Spock would have, he would have a great thing because he studies, he knows exactly who and what his crew members are. He would understand what that means. And he would know that for the rest of the crew, for him sitting in the center seat, this is an important thing to do.
Yes.
In the show, they made him look like an infant and said, go very fast now, whatever the hell he said. Spock, if it was Leonard Nimoy, he would have thought about it and he would have come up with the most badass saying of all. And he would have said it and the crew would have been duly impressed. Like, whoa, we didn't expect that. Because that's what Spock would do. What they turned him into was a pack lead, if you know your Star Trek. I mean, go very fast. I mean, why do you neuter the guy like that? Why does this show, why do people like Akiva Goldsman have to write all the men on the show? And then you see the Starfleet, the guys from Starfleet Engineering to modify the ship. The women are like, well, I don't want you to do that to my station. I modify it myself. I'm like, fuck you. What is this show? You've got people from Starfleet Engineering, the greatest engineers in the galaxy, coming on your ship, and you're telling them their business because they're dudes? I mean, I'm sorry. For me, normally I don't pay much attention to that stuff, but all the women do is neuter the men constantly on the show. And I watch this and I'm like, this is a military vessel. I would throw them all in the airlock and recrew my ship. Get the fuck out.
Yeah, but this is, I mean, you could almost say that the crew is unappreciative because after all, the captain is obviously still cooking dinner for them and giving them wine every night. You would think that they would kind of warm up to the idea of commands. But, you make a good point with this. I don't know. I think, if anything, the production value is nice because the outfits they were wearing and just all the styling.
No doubt. The clothes, I do like the clothes. I like the actors a great deal.
Yes. But to be honest with you, Robert, it really is the Love Boat. I'm not seeing any other storylines other than, potential hookups, someone head over heels in love with someone they can't even think. He's lost his ability to concentrate. And then
first of all, and Dr. Mbenga giving him his Vulcan harp. Here, you like music? Like, is there one thing that Spock had from his character from the last 57 years that they're not going to take credit for on this fucking dumb show?
Yeah, everybody remembers him with the harp. And to be honest with you, one of the things that I thought was odd was that when Christine noticed someone had brought to her attention that, she brushed it aside like it was no big deal or like it didn't matter. And I'm like, are you kidding me? He's looking at you. You ought to milk this. Christine.
Oh, she's going to milk it all right. A little prostate action, double fist. You know what I'm saying?
She's got to do something because, I don't think he's going to leave her alone, honestly. But
wait till episode 5. You want me to give you a preview? Probably get demonetized from Paramount if I do.
No, let's not get demonetized. But I oh my gosh, I'm so excited. They don't have to make those costumes so tight, Robert. They don't have to do that. But they wanted us to notice their figures. They wanted us to notice a lot of things in the show. Everybody looks perfect and ready to go. So I'm just going with it, Robert. I just want to enjoy myself. And if all my sensors are fired from watching the show, then it's fulfilled its purpose for me.
Well, you're a horny little mink, so you'll like wait till you see what happens next week. Or no, although next week is, I thought, a pretty good episode. And Yetide Badaki is in it, who is smoking hot. She was in American Gods. She's a black actress from Nigeria. She's like Lupita. She's like the Lupita Nyong'o of TV.
Nice.
She is smoking hot, and she plays Una's defense attorney. Mm-hmm. And if you want to see something horny, they're at odds. These two, like, they clearly have a pass. And I'll just say it because this show is also very gay. And so I'll say it. The modern Star Trek is very gay, and I don't mean that like you're gay, dude. Literally at the end of the episode, when she's going off the ship after the everything plays out.
Wait, are you supposed to even be saying this, Robert? Are you allowed to say it?
I don't know. Am I? I can say whatever I want. But there's a long, lingering holding of the hands.
Ooh.
And I was like, boom, chicka, boom, bow. I mean, if you're gonna do that, if all the ladies are hooking up, why can't I see that? I want to watch that.
I wouldn't mind some lesbian scenes in this. I mean, they might as well just go for this after all. If it's going to be, let's make it Love Island or Fantasy Island even. We can up the stakes of the show.
Or fuckboy Constitution class.
That's right. So, but that's what I'm taking from the show. I'm getting those vibes. You can't deny it, Robert. There's a huge amount of sexual innuendo.
Oh, wait, you see in this episode, do you know who's going to fucking hook up? And in episode 3, it's set, and then it comes back in episode, is it 6? You know who the new great couple on the ship is? Kirk and Lael Nooney and Singh. Bow, chicka, bow, bow.
I like it. And do we get to see that? Well, I mean, we were lucky enough.
We don't get to see that, but the seeds are planted in 2 episodes.
Well,
she's got it bad. She's got it bad for Kirk. Let me tell you.
Well, I think everybody has it bad for Kirk, but
on this show, he's kind of little. I think he's a good actor, but he's a scrawny little dude. I mean, Robert. No one's gonna throw him a few curves. I'll tell you something. Episode 3, there is the perfect opportunity for Kirk and Lael to find comfort in each other's arms, and she walks into his bedroom. And he does the whole thing where he's awake and knows she's there, and she's standing there, and I'm just like, this is how I know this show's fucked, because she leaves and he doesn't make a move.
No.
I'm like, my boy James T. Kirk would have got busy with Khan's ancestor. Come on, man.
There would have
Which
been
is
some
the most
serious
the fact that she's Khan Nooney and Singh's ancestor is also monumentally stupid. But I love that actress. She's great. She's better this year than she was last year. Even though that she's Khan Nooney and Singh's, and I can't even get into it because it's so stupid in terms of canonical violations. But episode 3 is their yesterday's Enterprise, City on the Edge of Forever. I mean, you get a car chase, you get hot dogs. It's awesome. Not.
Strange New World.
And they don't even fuck. They should be fucking. Lael should be here to talk about how they don't.
Strange New Worlds or Strange New Positions. You be the
Yeah.
judge.
It's like Prince. Got to try a new position. Yeah. Something that'll make it all right. I love that. I'd love to see that, but we're not going to. I mean, because the show is written like they should actually lean in to the swarthy sexuality of it all. And
Oh my God, it's so
let's
sexual.
just go full on. Because the fact that you see Pike in bed with a chick occasionally, but let's turn it into a full on fuck den of space sex.
There definitely should be more kissing, more stroking, all that sort of stuff. We should be seeing a lot of that. And as much as I get, they wanted Spock to fall in love with Christine. There should be something going on between the two of them, rather than her kind of like brushing it off. I'm like, no, you can't do that. Do you realize who this guy is? You really need to hook up with him. You know, it could work out in your favor later on. And he's a nice guy.
Especially people who are a little bit more advanced. If you want to just have some fun, and people would be much more, that was fun last night.
Exactly. And I don't think he's not mean. He's not a mean person. She knows him. She can trust him. He's not going to do anything bad to her. She's not going to like end up hurt or anything like that. He's an ideal person to be with on these long space hauls, Robert, where you get so lonely in space and you need affection.
So lonely. Yeah, we'll get so lonely. It was. Anyway, back to the matter at hand. Or in hand, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
People are like, what do you mean by that?
Yeah.
The Flash.
Yes, Robert, after seeing it, I could see your Supergirl doll behind you, and it's actually pretty darn good. And you got your cooler. The Supergirl, that's not a bad rendition of her.
No. It's the Barbie. It's, I bought this. They did announce the hot toy, but that'll be out in 2 years. So I bought this after I saw the movie because I love her character. So now I've got my Supergirl Barbie like every grown man has to have,
I think she looks amazing in that, and she looks like that in the movie. So there is a lot of truth to that. She's a badass character.
I like yes. Yes.
She performed so well, and is absolutely lovely, considering what she has to do in the film. She doesn't have as much time for glamour, let's say. But honestly, she held her own, and it was refreshing to see this new character. She did a wonderful job.
I thought so. I really liked her in the movie. Did you like the film?
I did like the film. I kind of think it's interesting that we saw a huge variety of characters. It kind of felt like there was one appearance that should have been in there, but it's okay. But I didn't know I was going to see such a variety of characters from over the years, and it felt good to see that. I agree. It was wonderful. It was wonderful. It was very satisfying. And I also liked, there was a number of different parts that I liked. When this is a spoiler, is this spoilers, Robert? Is this a spoiler, or should we not do spoilers?
It has to, if you can fit sex into it somewhere. No, we should probably, the movie just opened today. Okay. We should kind of not spoil it.
There were some, first of all, I can't deny that Ezra Miller did a fantastic job.
I thought so too.
And clearly they could not do this film without him. Like, this would have been a disaster. I don't think anybody else could have played this role as well. There's something about the way he approaches this character as he is in the past that makes it feel more authentic for me. So this is clearly not going to be his last Flash film. I don't think. I think he's going to continue playing this
It
role.
depends how much the movie makes, to be honest.
Yeah, that is true. And if it does well, which I think it will, at least I hope it will, I think he's going to continue on. He's actually so good. He could have done a television series, although there's already one. He could have actually done a TV series. He's that good in this role. I think that he makes it come alive, and I believed it. I certainly am very convinced. And I was a little skeptical. I saw the trailer and was impressed with the trailer, but there is this sense of fantasy associated with it that I love that they bring back. As I had mentioned before, one of the things that hooked me right away from the trailer was seeing the ring. And I didn't think I was going to get excited over that. I thought that's not going to have any, but seeing him press the ring and then seeing it kind of open up, I was so excited for this. I felt like I was a kid again when I saw that. And I think part of what makes the film work is that you do have these moments where you're a kid again and you're kind of enjoying the characters that you used to enjoy when you were a kid. So that was something that was captured. I didn't know that Ezra Miller could do that with that character.
Yeah, no, I look, I thought the movie was really entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's going into Prime to I just tend to let movies wash over me. And I thought this was really entertaining. I was entertained the whole time. I had a lot of fun watching it. It put a smile on my face. I'm like, it kind of had that Back to the Future feel. It's not like Back to the Future at all, but it had that sort of Last Starfighter Back to the Future energy to it, that sort of fun, entertaining. I mean, I really liked it.
It certainly did, and Ezra Miller did come across. Obviously, there's it's not a spoiler, but he has a huge role in the film. Of course, it's about his character, but there's even more involved with what he has to do in this, and I think that the relationships that he builds in the movie also do feel very legitimate, and it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking what happens in the story, and that comes across very well. The other thing I was going to say is in regards to Michael Keaton, who we all know is in the film, he is as sexy as ever. And
yeah,
as
he looks great.
He looks fantastic. And, I didn't want him to hurt himself, in the film, obviously the role he plays, but it's just like, obviously it's not 1989, but honestly, he certainly does look fantastic and has this fit feeling to him that is very refreshing. It makes me want to meet him afterwards and have drinks.
I'll bet it does. I know what you're saying. I get it. I see what you're saying. No, I agree. I mean, I really enjoyed the film. I thought it was a lot of fun. It was really entertaining. It was clever. And it had a lot of stuff in it that I really enjoyed. So what I find really interesting, I mean, the whole Ezra Miller of it all. Like, I loved Ezra Miller, and we have to talk about Kevin, and I loved him in Perks of Being a Wallflower, and I think he's actually, or pardon me, I say he. It's hard because I'm thinking the Flash. I'm thinking the Flash, but they want to be respectful of. He has requested that he be called by those pronouns, so they, and in the movie it's they. Because there's two of them.
Okay.
But I've always liked Ezra Miller. And, there's been a lot of controversy in terms of what actually happened and what they've been prosecuted for and what they haven't. Like, it's really weird because now people are always in my timeline going, how can you support a pedophile, a groomer? And I'm like, well, he hasn't been accused of that stuff. I mean, that's stuff that's been reported. That's not what arrest records show. That's not what, and there's all this compiled evidence that shows a lot of what we heard. It was all hearsay, secondhand, and I'm not defending the man. I'm just saying, can you say that? Can you say, like, if you call him them, can you say defending the man if he's considered non-binary? Because them is different than saying someone's a man. Well, how do you do that? If somebody,
I have no idea.
If somebody considers themselves non-binary, can you refer to them in a sentence as a man or a woman? I guess you couldn't.
I don't know.
I need a manual. I need a social media manual for idiots. Explain to me all this stuff because I want to be respectful. But so there's a lot of stuff that and And I don't mean that facetiously, by the way. I think somebody's going to have to publish some kind of a definitive thing so we can all, everybody who wants to be polite, has something to go from, because I can't keep it all. It's weird. We're now expected to keep people we don't know's pronoun status in our minds to talk about them on social media. And I'm like, it's
impossible situation.
no. And it's even harder because some of these people I have in movies on my shelf over there, and they're no longer the people they were when they were in the movies that I own that they're in. It says that they're in, they're dead named. It's a tough world we live in. I don't know how to navigate it. I really don't. But in all seriousness, and I am kind of serious about this, about the manual, because I think it's gotten to the point where we need to know. Like, there needs to be a repository, an online repository. How does everybody get referred to nowadays? Because I can't consult everybody's Twitter page before I go online. But right. I do think that a lot of, like, everybody, we need to know it's definitive before we're going to pillory somebody. And I'm not saying that they're not guilty, but they're not guilty of a lot of the things it's been blown out of proportion. And it's again, to be honest, I just don't know. I've gotten people that have posted very detailed, definitive accounts on Twitter about what actually happened. Ezra has defenders.
Right. And, one of the things that I'm sure a lot of people may feel this way is that one thing that I was concerned was that he might end up hurting himself, because things seem to be spiraling out of control for him. Some of the videos where he was, the police had approached him and it seemed to be trouble. And, I thought he would really injure himself unintentionally, of course.
But even some of those videos have come into question when you hear more about what actually happened. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just pouring more ice water into my Avatar cup.
Ooh, nice.
Yes.
Well, it's unfortunate that entire thing happened. And if this is a sign that he is no longer going to be subject to, let's say, hearsay, since a lot of this stuff has not been proven.
Right.
I hope going forward, he has a more positive situation for himself. If he has to get help, then he gets help, or whatever it is. But this performance, Robert, was, it was 99.9% Ezra Miller, and then times 2. So I believed this other character. I mean, obviously it was him, but I believed it was another person. It really was remarkable what he was able to accomplish.
No doubt. And, I'll tell you something. I know somebody somebody else who I believe, really enjoyed this film. And I'm curious to get their take on this. You know him. You love him. He's the 1/6 scale man. If you haven't subscribed to his channel, why not? Lael Rockwell, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, Lael.
What's up, man?
What's going on, dude? How are you? How are you doing?
Man, it's been a busy day. Went to I worked early today, had a couple clients I dealt with, and then we left. We went to go see another showing. Today we went to go see Flash in IMAX.
Nice.
And I forget what it's called, the IMAX X something, whatever, but it was incredible. Screen was beautiful. The sound quality was all there. Yeah, I enjoyed it, man. I definitely enjoyed this film, man. Had a good time. Had a really good time watching it.
You gonna pre-order? You gonna pre-order the Sasha hot toy?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I cannot wait. That was one of the ones that I wanted them to reveal and release first.
Yeah,
was that one. And again, the teaser is out there. I cannot wait until they reveal it. Hopefully, they do that soon, and it doesn't wind up in purgatory, because I definitely want to see that one soon. Hey, got a chance to see this film, and I must say, he still stands undefeated, bro. He still stands undefeated. Michael Keaton is the best Batman live action that has ever worn the suit. And I don't care what anybody says. He's my Batman. 1989, Michael Keaton dominates. Those action scenes in this film were phenomenal. Yes, I said it. Keaton is the man and the best Batman that ever wore the suit.
And he's so hot, Lael. Yeah. He's smoking hot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm's on fire tonight, man.
Yeah.
We already talked a lot of fucking tonight, and you missed it.
I believe it. I believe it. That's why her hair is the way it is right now. It's billowing.
She's billowing, man. She is billowing.
But he really did look incredible in this, and he
did.
didn't miss a beat. And you know, honestly, I think he has this incredible charisma on the screen. You can't take your eyes off of him. I really am so just continually impressed by Michael Keaton's performance.
Yeah, you can't. I think here's the thing, and like you said, I echo everything that you said. He doesn't miss a beat, because the thing is, even in the suit, even on the fighting scenes, even though you know you in your mind you know it's a stunt man, you still think it's him, because it just seems so seamless. And I mean, literally, bro, I was so happy. I cannot wait to get the hot toy, bro. But I was so happy to see Keaton in this film. I was happy to see Ben Affleck in this film as well, man. It was a nice little send off for him. I was equally happy. I shed a indigenous tear when I saw Gal Gadot on screen.
I know.
Once more. When I saw her on that screen and I saw that lasso, I was like,
and that was a funny moment. That turned into a funny moment, too.
It did. But I was like, there she is. There she is. There she is. There goes the only crush that I'm allowed to have. And there she is.
Oh,
really?
So
she's your hall pass?
She's my hall pass.
And she has this beautiful glow. Her face was so wonderful. And it was so invigorating. I love seeing her. I didn't want her to go.
Yeah, I didn't either. But I was so happy to see that. But bro, here's the thing, and I'll say this, man. Because we hear this. And I knew that we were going to hear this. And I was like, you know what? I saw it. Even when I put up a post, there were a lot of people that, said certain things. But a lot of people, the first to go to is going to be the special effects, the CGI. Okay. And I'm like, look, I give it a pass, just like I gave most of the films a pass in the 80s that had wonky CGI. It was the story that I thought that carried the film, and I enjoyed it. I love the simple fact that, Ezra Miller's performance, like you said, made me believe that there were two people. It was almost as believable. As a matter of fact, it was even more believable than a Social Network, bro. Yeah. I thought Armie Hammer had a twin. But this was believable. Like literally, I couldn't believe how for a minute, like I'm sitting there and I look at Toya. I'm like, yo, I got lost in the moment because I actually thought that there were two people standing there. Yeah, I mean that there were twins. I thought it was two people that were standing there having a conversation, and that just attests to his performance and how well he was able to pull it off. He was so cohesive between the two. I definitely loved it. And even bro, the dirt on your eye that Michael Keaton threw at Marvel when he had the explanation of the multiverse, bro. I was like, that shit was so funny, but it was real. Right. It was definitely real. And I love the extra. It was a simple explanation. Bro. It didn't take a lot of diving into. It was simple. And the thing is, and don't get me wrong, bro, love Endgame, love Infinity War. I love those films. But the problem is that you can't get away with telling a story of the multiverse thinking it's going to be a happy ending, because just like Keaton said, one infraction will change everything that you cannot touch and make whole again. One small move. And the thing is, he saw it. There's nothing that he can do now to go back and change it and put it back to the way it was. Nothing.
So then it's good though, right, Lael? Because there are always consequences to action.
Yeah, always.
No, it's true. And they did a good job with that.
Yeah, they did. They did a good job with the explanations. I love it. Again, bro, CGI aside, it was wonky in certain spaces, but I didn't care. Like, I really didn't care.
Well, for me, it's like, it's just a tool. It's I guess, like, I think what people are responding to is whether it looks realistic or not, but when you're in an out-and-out fantasy context and he's running fast and all that, it's like,
it's hard for you to make him, bro.
You know what I mean? Like, if they made it all look, it's never going to look realistic because he's running at super speed.
Yeah.
And they're like, how are you going to do that?
It's impossible for you to get away with it on that level, bro, because even with the, again, are we spoiling it or we're not?
No, we're trying not to
No,
spoil
we're
it.
not spoiling it.
Okay, so we're not spoiling anything, but like literally, bro, like again, it's very beginning sequence for people who haven't seen it. Opening sequence, you see certain things. The way you see it, you have to read it exactly for what it is. And it is used as an anecdote, you know what I mean, to be quite honest, because of how he is, what we know of Barry, what we know of his speed, and what we know he needs. So it's kind of placed there as an opening scene, and I loved it. I didn't have a problem with that, bro. I really, really didn't. I mean, in certain spaces, the way they did it, it was how it needed to be done. Even during the third act, it was how it needed to be done, and it was a way to tell the story. Some surprises, things that I didn't actually think I was going to actually. You know what? I saw so many surprises. I wouldn't be surprised if they opened up another multiverse, and we actually saw Robert Meyer Burnett and Hugh Hef Mansion. I would not have. I wouldn't have been surprised if we would have saw that.
I went there twice.
I know you did.
I'm not kidding.
I know you did. I know you did, bro. I know you did. That's why I'm not surprised. I'm just saying I'm surprised I didn't see that moment on screen. Like if I saw that on screen,
they cut it out of the film, Lael.
It must be on the cutting room floor that they just didn't want to put that in there.
Adhere to it. So then, fortunately,
we'll see it on the extended edition,
the
Muschietti edition.
Deleted scenes there.
The deleted scenes. We'll see it like a real cool, quick clip, like a him turning, like Robert Burnett. Like it'd be like once they open it, we'll see Rob turn around and go. And that's it. and that's it. Yeah, I think that's dope, man. But I love the film. I everything about it I enjoyed.
What did you both think about the physicality of what Ezra had to do? Because I think they did a wonderful job. I need to see the character, which we did see running, and he doesn't have to be running at lightning speed all the time. I need to see the motion. And I think that the notion of motion in this,
the notion of the motion,
it was infectious. You saw him kind of moving, and it felt very energetic and youthful. Mm-hmm. And I really enjoyed that. It was invigorating. You kind of like it made you want to run in the same way, but they also reversed it at times and showed it from different points of view. And they didn't have to do that. They didn't have to show that, but they did. And they needed to, I guess, demonstrate the incredible physicality involved in all of this. I thought that came out wonderfully. You truly understand what's going on and the impact it has on him physically.
Yeah.
What it entails. I thought that was a triumph there, because they could have shown that a lot of ways where we just see him run and we don't see any details. But they showed very specific details, at certain points of the film. And that was not necessarily the easiest thing to execute or edit out, in the final cut.
Right.
It wasn't. And even certain scene that we probably know where they kind of poke fun at it, you know what I mean, was remarkable. But I think that, when we, just the whole physicality aspect of it, I think that it needed to be kind of distinguished from what we know and what we're used to seeing. You know what I mean? Like, if you see a Flash film, if you see a Flash series, like it's always a certain way, and then that style is mimicked. Where it actually had its own fresh take. So I appreciate it for what it was. You know what I mean? And I think he did a good job of it, of telling the story, conveying it. And I said this even in my post. It was heartbreaking. It was definitely heartbreaking. And there was a moment that it was really, really heartbreaking for anybody who loves a family member. It's like, yo, sometimes we live in a space where we just can't, it's hard to let go. Even knowing in the moment that it could change, it's just hard to let go of certain things. And the way it was displayed on screen, it was like incredible. Loved it.
And another kind of interesting thing about some of those scenes where he's running, it kind of reminded me of those early films when they first started to take, do film in general, and they would horse cantering,
Yeah.
It's like then it would be going forward, and then they would reverse it. It's like the film was going in reverse, and it was very enjoyable to see that. Yeah. I'm not quite sure why or what it was about that effect, but there was something about it that was oddly satisfying.
Mhm.
And it did kind of bring back that feeling. I'm not quite sure why, but of those sort of early reels, you know, when they first showed
Yeah,
you, you know, any kind of film to people. So it was
yeah,
very
yeah,
interesting to see that interpretation.
yeah, yeah, man. It was, and the thing is, it's interesting though because like when we see this, and like I was talking to Vinny about this, and it was like, yo, like this was pretty much like a self-contained version. It was a self-contained film with so many possibilities. It opens the door for so many possibilities of what we can see in the future. I know again, Muschietti and his sister, and I didn't know. You know what? I didn't even think about. I didn't know that was his sister. I thought it was his wife.
Yeah, I mean, at first I did too. I didn't know that until
Yeah,
until CinemaCon.
yeah, I didn't know that there was a sister, but they had said that there were no plans for them. And here's the thing, and I'll just say it this way. Of course, they may say that, something that you want to say for GP before the film releases. But I honestly believe them. That's just what they are saying, is that there was no question and no discussion about them going a different route. That this is, they were the person that they want to going forward.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, there was no way they could have reshot that film.
No,
They would have had to have reshot. It would have been. They could. It just was impossible to do.
It was impossible to do. But they're even in saying that, when they made references to the script for, the second film, they still want to push ahead with this person, with them. So it's like, what do you say at that point? Like, what is going to be the consensus there? Because the thing is, like, the audience score for this film is good, and people really, really love it. Will they accept, Ezra going forward? That's, to be questioned. But hey, I mean, all in all, bro, like, Rob, tell me that when you saw that bat cycle come off, that when you saw that scene, tell me you weren't like, yeah, I need this. I need this.
I was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know you
No,
were like,
I mean
need
it's
this.
because it was badass.
Uh-huh.
It was just cool.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I thought so much of that movie was cool. I thought that Sasha Callie, if that's how you
Oh my
pronounce her last name,
god. Oh my god.
she looks
bro.
so good. I mean, I
Bro.
love the look of that suit. When she
Yeah.
finally dons it, and I already have Zod, so
Yeah.
I've already got Zod, I've already got Michael Keaton, I've already got Ben Affleck. I can do
Yeah.
I got Supergirl right here, so I can do
There
a
you
display.
go, bro. You can
Yeah.
definitely do it. I loved her performance, bro. I loved the passion behind her performance. And you could tell she was having fun. And
She was actually she's a great actress. I mean,
bro,
she's
a great actress.
she
And
commanded the
she's a-
screen, and
Yeah.
they're talking about making her. I mean, they're not talking about they're making a Supergirl movie based on the where she has to grow up on that planet adjacent to Krypton or the moon or whatever.
Yeah.
Use her.
I want her. That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. I would actually use her as the character, as a Supergirl. I would love to basically see that because, bro, she's passionate behind it. You can tell that she loves it. She was so adorable on screen, even though she was a badass. She was adorable on screen as the character because you can see that in her. You can see that she was having fun. You know what I mean? And that's what you want to see, somebody who's committed to the role, and she was, bro. I would love to see her as an iteration of Supergirl. Even I know the theater, both theaters that I went to, when they showed her on screen, the crowd they went nuts. When they saw it the first time, a certain scene they saw, they was like, yo, they went nuts. And I'm like, that's what you want. Like, literally, that is what you want. And I thought it was amazing. But of course, Keaton, man, he's a smooth motherfucker, man. I swear to God, he is a smooth motherfucker in everything he does, and it pisses me off. Like, I just would want to be in the same fucking room with him and not say a word and just listen to him talk. I just be like, yo, he'd be like, what you looking at? I'm looking at you, motherfucker, because you're smooth. Like, I literally would. Like, I would just be like, yo, just talk. Just talk. Like, that's all I want you to do is talk. I paid money. I just want to hear you talk. Motherfucker, because you're just too smooth. You're so smooth.
Wonderful.
You're so fucking smooth. I love Michael Keaton, bro.
Me too.
I love Michael Keaton, bro. I do.
So we all loved it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, okay, last week we talked about these things. Now we have Indiana Jones is out, or it's out next week. Is it next week? Maybe
It's
2 weeks. 2 weeks.
9th, or something like.
Yeah, I mean, people are saying that it was better than they hoped it would be, or I mean that they thought it was bad and it turned out to not be as bad as they hoped. So that's something good to hear. So. I think what's really interesting is, to me, here's the thing about The Flash. When I saw it, I just had a grin on my face the whole time. I just enjoyed watching it. And when I say, look, it's not as good as Back to the Future. Back to the Future is a near perfect movie. To me, Back to the Future and Raiders of the Lost Ark is a double feature. If you were to see those movies, if you'd never seen those movies before, that would be like 4 hours of the most entertaining time you could ever spend in a movie theater. I felt The Flash was, I think we judge these movies way too harshly. I don't know what we're looking for in them. It's one thing, like, I don't think Love and Thunder was judged too harshly. I wanted to walk out of that movie. And Quantumania. But what I mean is, like, The Flash was a movie that I thought delivered what it wanted to.
Yeah.
Like, I thought it was successful in doing that, if that makes any sense at all. That, okay, yeah, this movie set out to do something, and it did it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I want from a film. And, there's movies. What's really interesting is I've talked to people a lot about, like, there's a lot of B movies that I love. Like, recently, because it just got released on Blu-ray, I've been talking about Brian Bosworth's movie Stone Cold that Craig Baxley directed. Now, I love this movie. I love Stone Cold. A lot of people don't understand. They're like, well, Rob, you're always talking about excellence in cinema, so why is it you like something like Stone Cold?
Yeah.
Well, Stone Cold wanted to achieve something, and I think it absolutely succeeded in what it set out to achieve.
Yeah.
It didn't want to be Apocalypse Now. It wanted to have Brian Bosworth with a ridiculous mullet who had a pet alligator, who goes undercover with a biker gang that's led by Lance Henriksen, who's an incredible villain, and it has incredible action, directed by Craig Baxley, and it's supposed to be a B movie. Now, to me, there's a whole spectrum of B movies, not unlike gender. No, I'm just kidding. There's great B movies on the far end, and then there's B movies that suck, that aren't well made. And when people would ask me, okay, I'll give you examples of B movies that I love. The best B movie I think ever made, arguably you could make this argument, The Terminator. Because The Terminator was a $4 million movie about a killer robot. But because you had a filmmaker like James Cameron, the Terminator and movies of its ilk are the gold standard of B movies. Yeah. Because that movie's not The English Fucking Patient. It's not Out of Africa. It's not Gone with the Wind. It's the fucking Terminator. It's I'll Be Back. It's, everything about that movie kicks motherfucking ass. Like, when you came out of, I know because I saw it opening weekend. I came out of that movie theater going, fuck yes. When can I see that? I was like, fuck yeah, dude. Nothing about that movie. And I know there's wonky effects, like when he's fixing himself, you could tell it's a puppet. Like, I don't care. It doesn't matter. It's that movie is made with such wit and verve. It's awesome. Stone Cold, not The Terminator. If The Terminator's 100, Stone Cold for me, 87, 88, but pretty high for what it is. Take your pick. Everyone's got favorite B movies.
What about Under Siege, Robert? Under Siege.
Under Siege is not a B movie.
Okay.
Under Siege is an A movie that thinks it's a B movie, but it's too expensive to be considered a B movie. Because that's a slick Warner Brothers movie. What is it? Casey Ryback? Is that the name of the cook? Casey Ryback in the movie? Erica Laniak, the girl from E.T., gets out of the cake. That movie kicks ass. That's one of the finest Die Hard ripoffs. It's Die Hard on a battleship. But that movie has a big budget. But what happened was B movies became A movies. So the studios co-opted the B movie formula. They put big stars in it. They shot them for, it used to be 30, 40, 50 million. Now it's Fast X, $350 million B movie. The entire Fast and Furious franchise is a B movie franchise that has A-list budgets. and now super A-list budgets. And what's funny is Fast X and Fast 9 didn't work. They were bad B movies. They would be like at the 20 to 30% on my scale. If Terminator, it's so funny because I would put Fast and the Furious, the whole franchise, on my B movie scale. Fast 5 gets like a 95%. Tokyo Drift, 90. You know? But and so when you look at The Flash, does it succeed in setting out to do what it wanted to do? And I would say, okay, it's a superhero movie. I don't think, for me, The Flash, probably 85%. If you're on if you're talking superhero movies, to me, it's like Superman the movie. 1978 would be like my gold standard. I know not a lot of people would agree with me now because younger people think no. But if you remove that from the canon, I would probably go, to me, honestly, Infinity War and Endgame are probably together at the very, very top, along with Captain America, Winter Soldier, and maybe X-Men Days of Future Past or whatever, but that's a little further down. But something like that, that's what you want. And Flash is for me about an 85 on that scale.
Gotcha. Yeah,
that
sounds about right. That sounds about right.
And an 85 on that scale is highly enjoyable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it did what it set out to do. I didn't sit there and go, "What? That was a wasted opportunity." I know some people did.
And also the trailer is actually what the movie was about. It didn't feel like it was false advertising, so to speak. The trailer reflected what you got in the film, and that's also something that's very positive because I don't like seeing a trailer and then seeing a film and it's completely different from what the trailer advertises.
And the beautiful thing about it is that, Ezra Miller played the role that he was supposed to play and was a key player. Like everybody, when the news was out about, I know in the very beginning that Keaton was in it, and there were just other things that were floating around. Everybody believed that was the focus. It was going to take the focus off of the main story. And I think that Ezra did his thing in carrying it the way it was supposed to. So when you say the movie did exactly what it was set out to do, it definitely did accomplish that, bro. I loved it.
By the way, I don't know what context this is in, but Mikey Lito in the chat brought up the movie The Hidden, Jack Shoulder's The Hidden. That's right. That's about a 95%. If Terminator's 100, The Hidden's floating around 95 because that movie fucking kicks ass. Not only is that movie great, what's great about The Hidden is the alien antagonist is the audience. Because if you think about it, the alien antagonist wants to drive Ferraris, listen to heavy metal music, find strippers with big boobs, and be president of the United States. That's what the alien wants to do. So that movie, the very audience like myself, I totally identified with the alien antagonist. That's all he wanted to do was drive Ferraris, get strippers with big tits, listen to heavy metal music, Concrete Blonde. That's where I first heard the song Still in Hollywood, and be president of the U.S. That in itself was great. The Hidden is awesome.
Somebody else out there said They Live. Roddy Piper, They Live.
Fucking first of all, John Carpenter. Yeah. So John Carpenter has mostly made B movies. Like I would even say that one of his most expensive movies is Big Trouble in Little China, total B movie. That movie's way up at the top of that list. But that's got an A-list budget. It's still a B movie. But all of his movies, like Carpenter is he's the Stanley Kubrick of B movies, really, because Halloween's great, Assault on Precinct 13's great, The Fog's great, Escape from New York's great. The Thing's A-list. The Thing, because of the cast, and he's got Ennio Morricone doing the music. That was when Carpenter left B-land and went up to A-land. It didn't work for him. I had to pull it back. Actually, he got to go. Starman is an A-list movie, I think, too.
Okay.
Because you got Jeff Bridges nominated for Academy Award, Karen Allen, Charles Martin Smith, all that. So, but then he had to come back. He came back to B movie land, and then of course he had to deal with the Live Pictures to make 3 movies, and he made the 1-2 punch. And I'm talking both of those movies, They Live and Prince of Darkness. I put Prince of Darkness a little higher, but They Live and Prince of Darkness 90 to 95, totally in there.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely. That it. I mean, Carpenter's films, like they're just so iconic, bro. But like you said, like those things, and I would say that The Thing did teeter around. I mean, it's an A-list, type of film because again, the cast of, I mean, having, even though, we know that the main star was, a comeback for him, considering the simple fact that he was in other films, Big Trouble in Little China. Kurt Russell has always been his go-to. Escape from New York.
Yeah. He did the
Always
TV movie
basically-
Elvis with him.
Yeah, it's basically always been his go-to. But yeah, man, Carpenter he's what we consider, what we know as a B movie type of the director, writer, whatever. But to a lot of people who see those films because they're cult classic, they might even perceive them as being A-list. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, he like, you go back and you watch The Fog again.
Mhm.
I love The Fog. I think The Fog is
I just
aged
watched it. We just watched it last night.
with John Houseman at the beginning.
Adrian Barbeau, yeah, bro.
Stevie Wayne, KAB, Antonio Bay. That movie, when The Fog rolls in the beginning, the atmosphere, Carpenter's score, because he wrote the score. And I love how at the beginning John Houseman tells the tale.
Yep.
And then there's that great jump scare when the stopwatch is there and the can grabs it. I mean, that was Carpenter. That movie's great. It's elegant. It's scary. It's not too over the top. It's got a great cast. Janet Leigh's in it with Jamie Lee Curtis. Hal Holbrook's in that movie.
Yeah.
That's good. Well, you just watched it last night.
Yeah. It was crazy because I watched it and I was like, damn, I never realized that in this film, in the first act, he picks up Jamie Lee Curtis, right? She's a hitchhiker. He picks her up, and in the next scene, they're in bed.
Dude.
And I'm like, yo, that was the quickest.
And he's like 25 years older than she is.
Yeah, bro. And I'm like, yo, that was the quickest turnaround I ever seen. I was like, yo. And I even looked at Toy. I was like, literally. I said, yo, that's some Robert Meyer Burnett shit. like, literally.
I don't know. I think those days are over for me. But I wouldn't mind being that. Like, he was great, and that's another. That actor is part of John Carpenter's staple of players that he uses.
Yeah.
He was actually, that actor was in Lethal Weapon. He was Hunsaker, whose daughter is killed in the beginning of Lethal Weapon, the naked girl who jumps off the hotel balcony. But yeah, and it's great. But see, and that's the thing. I mean, yeah, because that's what people used to do. People used to party. Those were the days, man. It's I miss kids. Kids are really missing out,
bro. They're definitely missing out on the 80s, bro. Like, just the whole feel of the 80s was like, yo, the 80s was.
And the funny thing, Tom Atkins as an actor, I mean, he's kind of got a craggly face, acne scarred face. I mean, he's a handsome, swarthy guy, but he's not like a matinee idol.
Yeah.
But he got the job done. And Jamie Lee Curtis looking cute as hell.
Yeah. So it was like she had, in that film, she had like a kid grown up face. Like in certain angles, she had a kid face, but then could tell she was a grown up.
Right.
But it was man, definitely. But see, the thing is, back then though, my eyes were on Adrian Barbeau. Escape from New York. This film,
dude,
everybody loved.
Well,
Adrian
Carpenter was
Barbeau.
married to her back then.
Yeah.
I mean, and she had some, as David Keith said in Officer and a Gentleman, Adrian Barbeau at that time had some bodacious tatas.
Man, everybody used to love some Adrian Barbeau, bro. They did.
She was great. I mean, Swamp Thing. She was later in Swamp Thing and Creepshow, and and she's in Escape from New York too.
Bro. Yeah,
her bodacious tatas are front and center in Escape from New York.
She was with the Brain at that time. Remember?
Yeah. Yep. They'll kill us both. Talk to him, baby. He has a gun on her.
Yeah. Definitely love
those. I mean, come on, and then Carpenter. If you think about what he was doing back in the day, like Escape from New York, you had Harry Dean Stanton, you had Isaac Hayes playing the Duke of New York. You know, and you had a lot, again, his company of players. Charles Cypher's back again. I mean, everybody. You had who played Bob Houck. You know, you had Lee Van Cleef. I mean, Escape from New York is like Ernest Borgnine playing Cabby.
Yeah.
Come on, man. That was that shit was the shit. Carpenter was the B movie king, like consistently. Carpenter was, I would say, you know, he's definitely in the pantheon of the greatest B movie directors.
Yeah.
And I don't think he would argue with that. I mean, he dabbled in the A-list, but basically he made he's a 95%er.
Definitely.
Whereas James Cameron, like, he goes from making Terminator to making Aliens. So Aliens was an, even though Aliens is a perfect B movie, it's also A-list. It's bumped up into the Hollywood echelon at the time. And then he makes The Abyss, and then he's off to the races. But, you know, it's good stuff.
Yeah. And he's never looked back since. Like, straight up.
No. But yeah, those are definitely B movies. But yeah, I love reminiscing. There's a lot of people, super chats, that want to know whether movies are B-list or not.
Oh, interesting.
Kevin Morales says, how about Summer Lovers? My first nude movie. I would say Summer Lovers is a B movie. That's a little naked Daryl Hannah. That's what I'm talking about. That was good. The Sundowners Club says, Rob, what about Roadhouse, Somewhere in Time, and Less Than Zero? Okay, I would say Roadhouse. See, that's an interesting question. I think arguments could be made both ways, but Roadhouse had an A-list sheen to it, but definitely the soul of a B movie. Somewhere in Time, gotta say more romantic, you know, more A-list because it's Jane Seymour, right, and Christopher Reeve.
Christopher Reeves, yeah.
And Less Than Zero was top tier teen. It was beautifully directed. That's a B movie, but you could make the because it's based on it's based on Bret Easton Ellis's first novel. So I wouldn't necessarily say that that's a B movie.
It's hard to say it's a B movie.
It's hard to say.
Bro. It's definitely hard to say it's a B movie.
Zachary Zabali says, I still haven't decided whether I love Across the Spider-Verse or Flash more. If you had to choose, which would it be and why?
I would say, for me, Across the Spider-Verse. I'd have to definitely say Across the Spider-Verse.
I think it's a better film.
Yeah, I would have to say Across the Spider-Verse because just the pacing was good. And this is like, I mean, I know it's kind of hard to compare animated to, you know, this particular film, but I think it was a better film to me. I think it definitely was a better film to me, and they did such a good job setting up the next film. I loved it, bro. And then they were and the thing is, it's like, I would say, like, you know, definitely Flash is a close second, but I would have to say that for me, Across the Spider-Verse is the better film. Like it just hits different. It just really, really hits different. It hits different, you know, with so many different characters. His relationship, also his relationship with his mother and his father. You know what I mean? Two films that kind of deal with the multiverse, you know, deal with the relationships with the parents, you know, and that's where it's at. And when you can hit people where in the feels, bro, then you hook them. You know what I mean? And I think that both of them did a very good job. So, but yeah, Across the Spider-Verse, bro. I'd have to say it. And I love me some Keaton, bro. Yeah, I would have to say Across the Spider-Verse.
What about you?
Yeah, I would have to pick The Flash. For me, I did love Across the Spider-Verse, but I felt that the beginning where Spider-Gwen was in, where they focused on her for, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 minutes. I don't think that should have been in that film. I think she could have had her own film, a standalone film. She didn't need to kind of piggyback onto this film. And neither did the other Spider-Woman who was in the film and featured. I felt that they were strong enough characters that they could have had their own film. And I would have gone to see that film too. I think Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse could have just been about the men, and I would have been happy with that. And then I would have said I would have chosen that film over The Flash. But I think that Spider-Gwen and the other Spider-Woman, they need their own film. And I would have put that scene where Spider-Gwen talks to Miles Morales' mother in that film also, where it's this extra story that we're getting with them. And, you know, what I would have done also is to build up more about Spider-Punk and make his role a little bit stronger in the film.
Right.
So that's what I would have done. I just would have removed those parts and kept it as is, just remove those parts. It still would have been a fantastic story focusing on what I liked in it. And then we would have had this other fantastic film. We could have also made a feature length with the ladies. And there was enough of a story of Gwen to tell a lot more. But I kind of didn't like the connection they made in that with it. However, I would have also liked to see more romance between her and Miles in the version they make just about her. So I thought that could have been something that would have been very interesting going forward. But now in regards to The Flash, you know, I felt like the balance of the characters was perfect for what it was, what they were trying to accomplish. And it is a story that we've seen before. So in a sense, they had to retell the same story, but how do you make that story interesting again? And I think they achieved that. It's not always easy to retell the same story that you've seen already in 2013 now again. So they made it interesting. And I didn't know what to think of knowing what was going to be coming forward from that. But one thing I can say is I would have liked to have seen Henry Cavill in that film. I think even a small appearance of him would have been nice to see. But seeing all the other superheroes did enhance it. And Michael Keaton just shined in this. I think that he added a little bit of maturity to it in a film that was primarily focusing on a young man. You know, Ezra's a young man. He's not an mature. I don't consider him mature. He's young. It's supposed to be young and youthful, and naivete of the character, even we could argue, that is the driving force in it. And so that's part of what adds to that excitement. You see this young guy, he's like all exciting. It's supposed to be arousing and stimulating to you, and it does that. But Michael Keaton is also stimulating. It shows that a man can be stimulating no matter what age he is.
Here it is.
That's why I pick
Giving me hope.
Guys. I'm actually, I'm sorry.
No, you're not. You're not sorry. Coach sipping Jamba Juice out of a straw says, "Where's the effing?" That was from earlier. You saw it. Joe Panora says, "So Rob, Strange New Worlds is basically Star Trek's version of the 90s Skinamax." Well, it could be. It needs more of like we said, they should just go full on with.
Let me see some bare asses. Let me see some breasts. You know, just let me see some of this stuff and just let it be natural. It doesn't have to be like it's a sex show. Just let it be natural. And we could believe that, and it would be very different. I think it would be something, at least that's how I would do it. I wouldn't make it like, a Skinamax show. I would make it where they're just natural in bed, and you get to see a woman come out of bed and you can see her breasts, or a man come out of bed or something like that. Let it be a natural experience. And the way they're already doing this on the Starship, it's happening. And we want to see it.
Yeah, no, I agree. But it's weird. Like this is going to seem prudish of me, but I think Star Trek should be a 4-quadrant show. As much as I'd like to see Trek go into R-rated territory, it's a family show. And Strange New Worlds is weird because it's so like it's got this tee-hee adolescent, like, will they or won't they? I mean, it's got such a streak of immaturity in it. Strange New Worlds does, and it's so weird. I mean, from the way they treat Spock, it is not a show that's written for adults.
No,
it's a show that is written to be. To me, it's like I said, it's the Vegas show version of Star Trek. And so because the stories certainly aren't that serious, and it's certainly not delving into hard science fiction, and it's so funny because even in the 3rd episode, which is a lame version of yesterday's Enterprise and City on the Edge of Forever, when the characters don't hook up in like an alternate timeline in a different time, I'm like, you could have gotten away with it. And that's just so then when the real timeline's restored, these characters can be like Are they going to get together? Clearly, in an alternate timeline, they were affectionate toward one another. But it's so lame that they make that. That's the ongoing plot point. Is Lael and James T. Kirk gonna shag? I mean, and that's really the only thing I cared about after watching these 2 episodes. It's like let him. I want to see him hook up. That's not what I should be thinking when I'm watching a Star Trek show.
It's a good point, and I think that even if we could go so far as to say that we saw a couple have a mature relationship, a loving relationship, and we saw them in bed, it's going to have a different feel from, this, as you said, schoolgirl, schoolboyish fantasy of, oh my gosh, I just saw someone's bare ass or a boob or something. It is kind of giddy and a little funny, almost slapstick kind of comedy-ish, sex comedy that we're seeing. But it could be serious where he actually falls in love with Christine and he can't fall in love with her, but he's in love with her. And this could be a very serious situation versus,
but even that, you know what I really hate? Because this is what's really lame about Star Trek Strange New Worlds. So they go there. Spock and Christine Chapel are a couple. Total misreading of the characters from the original series. The whole point was that Christine Chapel was always in love with Spock, and Spock was never going to return her affection. It was always unrequited love. And now let's just make them a couple. Literally, one episode ends with them falling into bed together. And I'm like, fuck this show. Fuck this show. Because
so upset.
I mean, because it's like, who is writing this? What puerile? There is no adult sophistication in Strange New Worlds at all. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because Anson Mount brings a gravitas with him. Like, it's almost like he's in a different show when he's acting and doing something. And the reason I like the second episode so much is because it's a courtroom drama, but even that's got really stupid shit in it. But I did like the courtroom drama, but then it has to go get all didactic. And it's like, here we're fighting for the rights of people that can't fight for themselves, and it's all politically agendaized, and it's so, the writing is not deft. It's like, if you're going to write a courtroom drama, look at some of the great, look at The Verdict. Like, to me, if you're going to make a courtroom drama, you look to movies like The Verdict. You look to the court case and The Verdict. How is it portrayed? Or you look at 12 Angry Men, but that's about a jury pool. Even A Few Good Men. I love courtroom dramas. And Strange New Worlds is written by a bunch of people that are all arrested adolescents. And they think Star Trek is a show that doesn't have to be written as well as it should be. And they're wrong. But you can watch my rant on that earlier from the evening.
Yeah, and you're right. It is a show that should strive for excellence because the whole theme of the show is striving for excellence in society, in relationships with other, beings in the galaxy, all across the board, to be the best that you can be. So when it doesn't hit that mark, it is quite apparent that it feels deficient. So yeah, it is true. And
it's just frustrating because you look at it and you're like, what I wanted to do is I would love to just sit in the writer's room and ask questions. Like, I won't say anything. I just want to raise my hand and be like, what do you think's supposed to be going on here? And ask questions like that because what story are you trying to tell? Because I'm not real sure. But they'd hate me. People are like, oh, Rob, you're such a shill. You just want to get a job in the Star Trek writer's room. I'm like, one, I've never written for TV, and two, they would kick me out after the first day. Especially the Strange New Worlds writing staff. They're like, get the fuck out. I'm like, I am, because I don't know what the hell you're writing. But
oh my goodness.
Anyway, so we liked The Flash. Now, are you tired of the multiverse? I mean, both Marvel and the DC leaning into this multiverse element, which is kind of odd when you think about it.
I'll say this. I think, Marvel, Sony, as bad as we throw dirt in their eye and, we talk about some of the IPs, I think Marvel, Sony with the Spider-Verse are doing it quite well.
Yep.
I think they are.
I agree.
I think they're doing an amazing job with it. Disney's Marvel, however, I think that it's because of every film seeming so self-contained, because there's been a very lackluster explanation of, the IP of the story. Um, I think that's what mainly has hurt it, literally has hurt it. And to be quite honest, it's like you haven't gotten it right within this last phase. So for me, why should I be interested? Like, why should I basically move? Why should I want more? Because the way they've tied it together, I don't think it has been as successful as even they thought it should be or would have wanted it to be. Um, you know, and it's very disappointing, man, because the thing is, I wanted it to succeed, especially coming off of Endgame, in Infinity War and Endgame. It's like, okay, cool, let's ride that momentum. But, again, change of the guard. We know certain things were implemented. We know the story, the attempt, and what was supposed to have been told. But I just think that thus far, it's been poorly executed. It hasn't been a space where it has made sense enough. As far as DC, again, we're seeing them dabble into that now. We're seeing those elements now, especially with Flashpoint. And so far, so good. You know what I mean? So far, so good. It just depends on where they go with it. It's going to be interesting to see James Gunn's direction when it comes to certain things. Whether or not Ezra Miller is continuous and continues to play that role, that's yet to be seen. But yeah, I just think that, again, there are aspects to be taken from it and say, what, it's successful. But in, Disney's Marvel, there's problems to the point where you can almost say, yo, I can't wait till you move on from it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Give us something else.
I also think,
go ahead.
and I'm sorry.
No.
I also think that when they take the time to go ahead and put, like, for example, into the Spider-Verse, where they purposefully told us what number you're at, where you are, that was done on purpose. Yes, there will be people who know automatically what Earth it is. But, I don't know I just don't know them all. And I'm not ever going to know them all. But I still want to watch the film and understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Someone took the time to do that on purpose so it wouldn't become confusing. And it makes sense. It's like, I'm looking for that number. I'm like, okay, I know there's that one. Okay, I get it. And then I could look for it and understand and associate it with a specific number and understand that. It made such a big difference watching something like that versus seeing, things jump from one thing to another and not understand which one they're jumping to. Like, where are they going? Which one is it? I didn't have to even do that. Now I know. And I understand just one or two simple shots of that. And I wasn't in the dark. So I think looking out for the idea of we need to differentiate and let the viewers understand which one it is. Gee, that little thing made such a big difference in enjoyment of the movie. Not taking for granted that every viewer is going to know every single detail in there, or focusing on very specific ones. We want you to know this is Earth number, whichever one, and that's an important one. I mean, I think that makes a big difference in the experience of it, especially if you were already looking at a comic run that that one well. So I think that those things do stand out, and that was done purposefully because they wanted the story to be for people to understand what was going on. And that is storytelling. Sometimes it's in a multiverse. In a multiverse, you have to have that sometimes. So I just thought that was really important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that too. I just think that my problem with these multiverse stories is, I mean, they're fun and everything, and they allow the possibilities of these kinds of crossovers. But I would rather get back, if we're going to be watching superhero movies, like Captain America, the Winter Soldier is like the gold standard of Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
And what it talked about in terms of a surveillance state and Hydra infiltrating the levels of government and how Captain America is left disillusioned by all of this. These are real compelling narrative. I got to tell you, we're getting Secret Invasion next week.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to tell you, having read the script and read now some of the reviews, I can't wait. And because the tone of it And the thing is, the great thing about Secret Invasion is, to me, it tells a science fiction story that I always find compelling. And you have an alien race, the Skrulls. They have a new leader, a young leader that wants a plate. They're tired of hiding. The young leader is like, "Why? Let's kick all these motherfuckers off this planet. Take it ourselves." Like that idea is great. Great motivation for a villain, you know. And after Nick Fury, I mean, if you think about it, so Nick Fury started the Avengers Initiative. He wasn't able to stop Thanos. So for a guy like Nick Fury, that was a major failure. I started the Avengers Initiative. I didn't see what was happening coming. I didn't know what was rolling toward us, and I was in it, unable. Not only was I unable to stop it, I got snapped. You know, and so what is compelling? A compelling human story is, what does Nick Fury do now when he now has to deal with the fact that he was the guy that made peace with the Skrulls, and they've been on Earth for 25 years. And now they're like, there's a faction of Skrulls that are like, fuck you. We're taking this planet, you asshole. And what does Fury do? That, to me, is not multiversal, but that's compelling drama, especially compelling superhero drama. And that's why I want to see more of that. And it's interesting. I like the animated Spider-Verse, that started out in the multiverse. You know, so it was okay. It doesn't bother me. It's part of the DNA of that. But I'm tired of the multiverse-ness of both Marvel and DC now. I mean, I want to see a universe being built. By the way, people ask, we did not see the post-credit scene, two post-credit scenes. We didn't see them. The movie ended with Ezra Miller he says the F word. He goes, "Who the fuck are you?" Right? I have not seen I haven't seen it since I saw it at CinemaCon, but I know that those scenes weren't there.
So you didn't see who it was he said that to?
No, but I knew who it was because I'd read an article before, and
Okay.
And I was laughing because I was imagining how fun that'll be to see in a theater. And then you know, they have the Aquaman, you know, which makes sense.
Yeah, it was definitely. Again, I look at it as a self-contained film that they can take anywhere. They can do a complete retooling, or they can actually go ahead and change everything through this film. Like, that's just the way I've seen it, and his opportunity to do so. But I think in this film, it does something that other films weren't able to capture, you know, in the Marvel universe. You know what I mean? And again, I mean, you know, I too can't wait to see Secret Invasions, because even though it's not the Secret Invasion that I truly wanted to see, I know it's the Secret Invasion that I need. Because again, the most compelling stories are told through the eyes of a person who's broken. You know what I mean? And I want to see that broken version of Nick Fury. I just hope we find out how he really lost his eye, because they need to make up for that shit, bro. They really, really do. I hated that scene in Captain Marvel, bro.
I hated it.
I hated that scene in Captain Marvel. But again, I'm with you. I think that the multiversal aspect of telling stories right now is being exhausted, because you see two different IPs doing it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think that we need to move on to a totally different story. And I think Marvel needs to kind of get past that phase, because their art of storytelling is not bringing everything together. And people are just like, yo, what the fuck is this? You know what I mean? Like, what is going on? Thor: Love and Thunder was absolute bullshit. And I'll say that on the top of the highest mountain.
Me too.
I hated every aspect of that film. There was not one piece of that film that I loved. I hated everything from the beginning till end. And, you know, Multiverse of Madness, I love that film. A lot of people basically didn't. I thought it was good. And then we get down to Quantumania. It was divisive. But I can understand why people feel the way they do. You know what I mean? Because there was nothing that was attached. It wasn't the same feeling that we got, you know, with the first few phases, and how it was all tied back to Nick Fury and Tony. You know what I mean? And what they were building at that aspect.
Well,
in this phase, the last phase, we didn't see anything, bro.
No, anything. I mean, like Quantumania, I really love the first two Ant-Man movies. Dare I say, call them charming. They had, for me, the same kind of feel like a Flash did, but even more so grounded. But it was very much real world, like a father wants to get back together with his daughter and his family, and he was front and center. And the story, we talked about this before, but it's about him. You know, it's about his journey. You get to Quantum Mania, and he's like a guest in his own movie. Like, what are the other than like rescuing his family from Wacky Realm, and the Quantum Realm was not, to me. I didn't buy into it. I didn't believe it. You know, and you're supposed to meet Kang and being this big bad, and I'm like, if you're such a big bad, why are you sticking around in here? Like, I know you're stuck, but you're kind of got defeated again, and it wasn't. It was too goofy. You know, that was the problem, is that Thor: Love and Thunder and Quantum Mania were too goofy. It destroyed, dare I say, the verisimilitude that they'd built up, because even in Guardians of the Galaxy, you believed, in the first one especially, you believed it, even though it was goofy fun. The tone of it stayed consistent, and you believed it all. Yeah. And Guardians 1, 2, and 3 are really marvelous from that perspective. They maintain a certain tone that's pretty unique.
Even flow with that tone, like it's just basically very unique. And the payoff was on the third film, and I thought it was incredible. But yeah, like I look at this, like even like right now, bro, when I look at the writer's strike and I look at the simple fact that like a lot of films have been delayed, I just think of it as a good thing, because now you can just take your time, like really take your time and give us good stories, and where it doesn't feel so congested and out of place. Like now you can take your time and really rework things and do things the right way, bro. Because right now it's just like, and I said this before, like going to see, Guardians 3 Volume 3, bro. I wasn't as excited as I usually would be for a Marvel film going to see it. I was just like, oh, okay. And I'm glad I seen it, but I wasn't as excited as I know I could have or should have been. And I don't know if that's just, expectations being set high at that one point and being let down, or just the simple fact that, nothing's really hooked me like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think ultimately what makes these movies enjoyable, especially the MCU, is the central character was front and center always. And the best MCU movies had that character go through something that is relatable. And like all great fantasy films, you can, if you take away the fantasy trappings, you take away the superheroics, you take away the helicarriers, and you take away whatever, it's the story of a human being going through a situation that we as an audience all can relate to, and we put ourselves in the position of the protagonist. Like pick your movie. I mean, the great thing about Indiana Jones is, even though he's a great archaeologist, he's still kind of the everyman. So we're living vicariously through him. I mean, take your movie, take your pick, like whether it's a male character or female character, I don't care. In Aliens, I'm living through Ripley. I'm living through Ellen Ripley. I'm identifying with her, and that's why it's so absurd that people talk about. Like, I grew up I don't have a problem identifying. I like strong female characters in movies. Princess Leia was a strong female character. She kicked ass.
Strong.
And
hell yeah.
It's what's I find really strange today is when it's so, like in Star Trek Strange New Worlds, there's too many female characters, and it's not because I'm a male and feel like it feels unbalanced and fake. I'm watching Star Trek. We already know. People say, well, Rob, in the 60s, women and men, they weren't on the same place they are now. But I just don't, the mix of women to men and how the men are treated, like you saw it when those men came on to fix the bridge of the Enterprise and upgrade the systems, and the women are like, I don't need your help. Like, why would you write that scene? I'm looking at this like, oh, these are badass girl bosses, young Uhura's telling probably somebody who outranks her, don't do this to my station, I'll fix my station. And it's like, no, but they actually, the writers, Akiva Goldsman, the showrunner, wrote that specific scene because he disingenuously wants to curry favor with the female audience. And I was joking about it. I'm like, when he's at a bar, like he's at, hey baby, have you seen the new episode of Strange New Worlds, you know how sympathetic I am to women, and I really know how to write them, and they're all bad bitches to me, and that's how I write my women. Maybe you could come home with me later. I mean, I feel like it's so disingenuous, and I feel that's how a lot of, like, everyone now, people are mistaking. They're either calling it racist or sexist or whatever. I think what people are responding to is the disingenuous nature of all this. It's like making all the main female characters on Strange New Worlds, they're all in same-sex relationships. 7 of 9 and Raffi. You know, you're like, wait a minute, we've seen 7 of 9 in the past with Chakotay, and why are you doing that? And to me, that's the most pandering shit of all. When I watch that I mean, I'll admit, watching Rebecca Romaine and Yatiti, if I can ever pronounce her name correctly, she's a beautiful woman, and when they have that touch at the end, I'm like, I'll watch that. But I'm like, do they have to do, when they do so much of it, it's like you guys are lying to your audience. And I feel they're doing the same thing a lot of the time with a lot of, as they change, as these franchises get older. And I think that's what people are responding to. Like when you're watching these movies where they make these changes and things like that, they're doing it and it doesn't feel organic. You know, and what's funny is I'm a huge James Bond fan. In 1983, when Never Say Never Again came out, Bernie Casey played Felix Leiter when they brought back Sean Connery. I never once thought to myself, oh, they made Felix Leiter black. Bernie Casey was awesome. He was a great Felix Leiter. You know, and I'm watching it now. It never occurred to me. I didn't sit there and go, oh my God. And then, of course, in the Daniel Craig, the same filmmakers they didn't make Never Say Never Again is not an official Bond movie. But when they made Jeffrey Wright Felix Leiter in the Daniel Craig Bonds, he was great. I loved how he called Daniel Craig brother, you know, meaning that they're both intelligence, they're spies. And the people who are in the spy agencies call each other brother. And I love that. And I thought he was great because the character was well written. Yeah. You know, and if the character is well written, nobody cares. And they'll watch anything. But like with Strange New Worlds, I feel the whole thing is fake. All of it's fake. Like I watch the show knowing that I'm watching something, but I don't believe. Like when you watch Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, I believe it. I believe the way the characters talk to each other. I believe the way they act. But Strange New Worlds has this weird, unreal sheen, and the way they treat the characters. Now the characters say, yeah, man, what's your thing? You're not going to talk to a superior officer in a military context like that. You know, your thing, what are you going to say? People don't talk like that in the military. And when they do that, I'm like, that's just... And I get angry. It has nothing to do with the cast or the racial makeup or the how many the fact that there's so many female characters. I don't care. What I want is I want them to make me believe. You can show me any characters you want. I don't care if they're straight, gay, religious, not religious, Democrat, Republican, Hindu, Muslim, Jewish, Christian, Catholic. I don't care. I'll watch any character. Just make the character good and make me believe. And that's a hard thing to do. And I think generally most audiences want that. I think audiences will accept anything you give them as long as they know that it's truthful. And great stories are truthful. And a lot of the time, like I watch Thor: Love and Thunder, and I'm like, there is no truth in this. There's just goofiness. Like Taika Waititi, and there should have been because there's someone dying of cancer. You know, there's children. There's all these things that could have resonated with people. And it was done in such a goofy way. I'm like, you're talking about somebody who's dying of cancer, and it's a goof. Somebody who's renounced...
The way they played that. And here's the thing is because there was so many people who said that, well, it was their way of shedding light or bringing light to a certain situation, but not if the situation wasn't even identified the right way.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it was glossed over. It was implied. And yes, she did say it, but there was no attention to that. There was no, aspect of, because even with that, to be quite honest, it was like even Thor knowing and finding out that she had that and she was terminally ill and she was dying from that. It's like, yo, that would have broke me as a person because that's somebody who you've loved for so long. And that would have shattered a person's confidence. I just didn't see enough of that. I
Well, and
didn't see that
also,
there was a connection there to really bring that level of weight to that character like I felt as though it should have. And they just lost it for me, bro. I was gone.
well,
I
here's
was
something,
completely checked out.
with all of Thor's powers of a thunder god, he can't stop a woman dying of cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a huge part of what the resonance of the story they're telling had going on for it. And that was, it's like, and they play this beautifully in 1978 in Superman the movie. When young Clark is like, when his father dies of a heart attack, all those powers, and I couldn't save him. I mean, and to me, what's really interesting, this is, okay, I know I always bring everything back to Star Trek, but if you watch the first, half an hour of Superman the movie, 1978, and you get to Earth, when you get to Earth, and I know some of the effects are wonky, but when you're in Smallville and all the stuff on the Kent farm, and the music and the acting, you get the goofy, fun stuff. Clark, clean this up. You get the running fast and young Lois waving at him from the train and all that shit. But his scenes with Glenn Ford, I know you are here for a reason. And after his father dies, that music and the way Donner shoots it and Jeffrey Unsworth's photography, that is peak superhero storytelling. And I'll tell you something, who's going to lean into that? James fucking Gunn when he makes his Superman. James Gunn is going to, and this is just, I am speculating. When James Gunn makes his Superman, he's going to take cues from the Smallville sequence in Donner's Superman, because the goofy fun stuff is there, which James Gunn's very good at, but he's also good at the resonance stuff. And that whole thing, even though they shot that in Alberta, it is peak Americana. It is American mythos writ large on that big screen with John Williams' score. That shit, I think about it now, I'm getting that whoosh.
It looks like Kansas or Oklahoma or something like the heartland of America.
And that shit's dope.
The other question too about Thor and Love and Thunder is the idea that Jane, is kind of made somewhat ignorant in this, and she's supposed to be this brilliant scientist. And it's confusing when she's diagnosed and she's like stage 4, like, and it's almost like she was implying that she didn't understand what was happening to her. As a brilliant scientist, as spectacular as this woman is, she's all confused by this. She wouldn't be confused. She would be like, I've got to fight this, and I can't let this break me. That would be her response to the news. It would be, I'm going to fight this with everything I have. And I don't even think it would have gotten to stage 4, because she would have gone and gotten diagnosed prior to that. So that's like a little something that I kind of question in a sense. By the time it would have progressed, you would have found she would have already known she was unwell. And then, it would have been like, well, we've tried everything we can and there's nothing else we can do. That would become believable versus, oh, all of a sudden I have this cancer and I don't understand what's happening to me. It doesn't resonate truthfully.
Right. Yeah. Yes. I agree with that. By the way, Kenneth Colton says, "Hail, Boss Rob, Lady and Po Pimp Lael." The Flash did not work for me, but I could not pass up Keaton's return. Sending my best, renewed my membership. Hope Indy turns out great. Enjoy the weekend. Did RM just finally the overwhelming sexual energy of this show just did her in?
I don't know.
Dude, I got to show you something. I mean, this isn't news to you, but
sorry.
I mean, can we just talk about this?
It's amazing.
Dude,
figure it here.
You were saying that the engineering on these wings, bro.
Figure it here.
This figure is so awesome. I can't stop playing with him.
I know. Figure it here.
Anthony Mackie has an incredible physique. He's a beautiful man.
He really is, and this is a great face sculpt too.
Yeah,
and I think that also shows in this figure. It's definitively Anthony Mackie's gorgeous physique, that tone, that conditioning that he has. It's just remarkable. They made a point of showing in the TV series where there's a point where he doesn't have a shirt on, and they wanted you to see his build, and that's an important part of this, is also admiring, his beauty as a man in it as well. And I think they've accomplished that in that figure.
I have never, I never thought I could compete on your show, Take Your Position. But after I opened this up, I'm like, I know what I want to do with my. Oh, I'm just going to tell you. I want to hang Golden Armor Wonder Woman and Captain America in an embrace, a sky embrace.
That'd be dope.
Right?
Don't you? But you know what? When you think about that, right, and you think about the ingenuity of that Captain America figure, doesn't it make you mad that it was a missed opportunity for that Golden Armor Wonder Woman, bro? Such a missed opportunity, bro. They could have gave you the same articulation, bro, and I think it would have been dope. Now, I don't. Again, people would say, well, it's because of the gold painting and the chipping. No, they could have done it, bro. There's
Of course they could have. They didn't have to paint. It could have been molded in gold.
Yeah.
So did you buy that? Did you get the Christopher Reeves, the JM Studios?
Oh, J&D?
J&D?
Studio? No. It's the brother like that. Here's the thing. As much as I love J&D, way too costly for me, bro.
Yeah,
I just said I live vicariously through everyone else when it comes to that. I do. I live I just watch everybody else. I'm hoping that a certain company decides to do a 1/6 scale Christopher Reeves. I'm hoping. And I hope if one doesn't do it, the other takes the advantage.
Well,
bro.
don't you think after the Flash that they'll reissue Hot Toys will do a new Christopher Reeve?
Yes, I do.
I hope.
And a Supergirl.
And pray.
Oh,
I hope and pray.
And someone's going to do Nicolas Cage.
I hope.
Yes.
And pray, because it would be a shame if you do not. It would be a shame if you do not, because it was such an opportunity, and merchandising would go through the roof. I know in my theater when people saw it, they went nuts. So I hope they do. It would be a missed opportunity if they didn't. Give us a 2.0 of Reeves, and I'm all in. I cannot wait.
Well, I mean, you'd think with Batman, because everyone wants that figure. The first figure is beautiful, but it's old now. They could do a much better face sculpt, better paint ops on the sculpt.
Yep.
Our friend Mikey Lito says, I'm glad you three enjoyed it. I found the story wonky. A muddled mess of a movie. 5 out of 10. Ezra Miller was the best part. Okay, Mikey. Bert wants to know, he says, Rob and Lael, would you gentlemen start sporting Ascot ties and blasting Chicago's 25 or 6-4? Thanks to 89 Bruce Wayne in The Flash. I like 25-6-4. That's a great song. I don't know about the Ascot ties. Little
It's
80s.
by Chicago, right?
Yeah. 25-06-4. Yeah. Zachary Zabali noticed my shirt. I love The Cure. I bought a CD after I don't know how long. Disintegration. It's been on repeat in the car for the past couple of days. Disintegration came out in, I think, 89. That album kicks ass. It's got Fascination Street on it, which is my jam. I love that album. Rick Schnupp asks, looking for some great sci-fi reading recommendations. Would love to hear your top 10 sci-fi novels of all time. Ooh, I don't know if I could run that off right now.
Yeah,
Science fiction in general, not especially Trek, but I can throw you out a few. Neil Stephenson's Snow Crash, Peter Watts' Blind Sight, Dan Simmons' Hyperion and Fall of Hyperion, Robert Heinlein's Stranger in a Strange Land, Dune. I think the novel Dune. You got to read the novel Dune. A book called Earth Abides. Ken Grimwood's. It's total B novel, but it's so fun. A book called Replay. Obviously the Foundation trilogy that Asimov wrote. Just the trilogy. Just off the top of my head, there's more. There's so many more, but those are a few. Joe Panora says, I think I said Strange New Worlds is basically Star Trek's version of Skinamax. The Sundowners Club, I already said that one too. I already read that one too. Joe Panora says, I have an iRobot vacuum and a mop. The vacuum is called the Duke, and the mop is called Cabby. Because you're an Escape from New York fan, my friend, and I love hearing that.
Hell yeah.
Here's a good question. I'm curious about this because I know how I'm thinking about this. The Sundowners Club asks, Rob and Lael, what are your thoughts on Gladiator 2? with Paul Mescal, Denzel Washington, and Pedro Pascal, which is filming now.
I'm eager to see it. I'm excited for it. I think that there could be much more to the story. There's so many stories in that time period. So I want to find out what happens afterwards. Of course, we know that the original Gladiator, it's not historically significant. It's a fantasy, a historical fantasy based in that time period. But certainly if they can capture some of that magic, that chemistry of, that we saw in the first one, I'm all for it. And I also think that it was one of the most amazing soundtracks as well. Very kind of a haunting soundtrack.
Lisa Gerrard from Dead Can Dance and Hans Zimmer teaming up.
Yeah, and it was spectacular. They would need that I Am Home, or I can't remember what the name of the song is. It might be I Am Home or I'm Free. And it was a huge international hit. I think they would need things like that. I don't think it's just going to fly with just an ordinary soundtrack. It has to be spectacular.
Oh, I think they're going to come back.
And also Robert and Lael, the cast was spectacular. We had such incredible men in this film. Absolutely gorgeous. It was like just wonderful to see these men, these actors. And Joaquin Phoenix was great playing the, sort of the crazy, I guess you can call him Caesar or whatever, but he was wonderful in that. He was sexy in this. It's got to be filled with sexy men. I want to see those sexy men in Gladiator 2.
What kind of men?
Sexy men. They are. It was very sexy. It's very sexually charged. They're half, dressed. They've got, they're all fit and beautiful looking.
Oh, I love the fact that it's about Lucius, the young kid that's probably the Gladiator's son anyway. I mean, that Connie Nielsen's coming back as Commodus's sister, the mom.
Yes.
They got to bring back. I don't know if he's in the cast. They've got to bring back Jaimin Hansu.
Yes, yes.
Jaimin Hansu's got to come back.
In this,
he was so good, but not
let's
yet.
See all those men that made the film so spectacular, so beautiful. You had, such interesting character actors in this film.
Oh yeah.
It's going to be international because the Gladiators are kind of international from all over the surrounding areas there. But we absolutely have to see fit men. And they have to look like they're gladiators. This has to be something that's.
Oh, I think they will. I can't wait. I love Gladiator. Love it. I like the extended version better. What's really funny is Derek Jacobi, who's one of my favorite actors in the world. He played Claudius in I, Claudius. Yes. He was one of the Roman senators. I hope he comes back. I mean, he's got to be like, I don't know.
He also played Cadfael. He's been in so many fantastic roles, and you needed him. He was made that part legitimate, But the senators didn't feel like they played a huge role in the film, although they were present, Robert. It didn't feel as if they were a major part. It'd be interesting to expand that part of the story. And I don't necessarily want to see senators getting killed, but the focus was pretty much Caesar, I guess, or whichever Caesar it was. And, fighting with the gladiators. So I wonder if you're going to bring in more of a presence of the senators. Will there be fighting and killings there? This is something that I'm kind of curious about. Was that be something that you feel should be in the film, or
yes?
You would just see them? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Derek Jacobi, I just looked up. He's 84. He can be in the movie.
He can be. Yes, he can.
And I want to know who Denzel Washington is playing. You know what I think Denzel Washington's who he's going to play?
Who?
I think he's going to play Oliver Reed's part.
Okay.
You know how Oliver Reed owned all the gladiators and he was the businessman and stuff? I think Denzel's going to be the Oliver Reed. I think that he was going to be, because remember Oliver Reed was pardoned by Augustus Marcus. He was Marcus Aurelius. He was. I think Denzel Washington also has a wooden sword. I think he was a slave that was freed, and now just like Oliver Reed was, and he owns the gladiators.
Interesting.
I think so. He can spout all the awesome dialogue, like he talks about Rome, win the crowd, and you win the audience, and all that.
So they're going to continue
the voices rise. They rise.
They continue to focus on historical figures, but we know that what actually happens in the movie is not historically accurate.
No.
as far as I'm concerned, it didn't matter because Gladiator was so spectacular. Will they continue giving us that passion and fantasy and maybe not necessarily focusing on what actually happened at that time? And will it still be good enough?
Ridley Scott's doing it. I don't know. He's got a Napoleon movie coming out that looks spectacular that we saw some of at CinemaCon. He's doing this. He's I can't wait. I can't wait to see this. I'll watch it with bells on.
And Russell Crowe is a hard act to follow. And I mean that in all truth. He is incredibly sexy. And you know, I don't know. I think
He's
I
what?
think Worthington might be good in that.
What?
No, I'm just saying, I'm just trying to think of actors who could possibly play that role. And I think Sam Worthington might be good in the film.
That's true. I don't know if he's in it, but the main guy is Paul Mescal.
Yeah.
I think I want to see that. Zachary Zabailey says, my favorite B movie is, this is a great movie, Revenge of the Ninja, starring Sho Kazuki. It was on repeat along with Pee-wee's Big Adventure and Temple of Doom as a kid. Are you into 80s ninjas? Okay. There is nothing that cannot be made better with the proper application of ninjas. The canon ninja movies of the 80s, like Michael Dudikoff in American Ninja. There's Revenge of the Ninja. There's Ninja 3, The Domination. There's so many great ninja movies. All the 80s ninja movies are, I'm telling you, anything to do with ninjas, I will watch. Ninjas and everything. One day I'm going to make a movie, like a romantic comedy set in the modern day, and I'm going to figure out how to put a ninja in them. I'm going to do it. Ninjas forever. Scott Bartholomew says, good Trek doesn't require nudity and F-bombs. I totally agree with you. Trevor Kuntz says, Flash Qualm, I didn't like the fact that Feora could have had some lines. Yeah, I could see that. Maybe. Because I was kind of waiting. It's weird when the same thing happened in Superman Returns when one of the characters didn't have lines. They used to have lines, and they got all their lines cut out, and it was lame. That was a bummer.
I wonder if she did, and again, it just
for sure they cut it for time.
They probably just cut it mainly for time.
Yep.
It just fitted in where they could. Which, there are certain scenes where they could have scaled back on, and just to fit some, of those lines in to make it just a bit more. I would have wanted to see, again, without really giving too much of the story away, but I would have wanted to actually seen the scene where we see Zod, speaking to one of the officers. If they would have replaced that with her, having the conversations like she originally did. Because Zod never got off the ship, remember? You know what I mean? So if we would have had her being the one who first greeted, I thought that would have probably made, sense. But again, I really definitely would have, because she's, a very beautiful actress, very, I thought that her scenes in The Man of Steel were incredible. Would have loved to have actually seen it. You know what I mean? Get more meat to the actual role. I would have.
Yeah, I agree. And same with Zod too. There wasn't a lot of. I would like to have seen more Zod monologuing and stuff. And
more Michael Shannon. Yeah, that would have been decent.
Tack Heart, is that Tack Heart or Tack Love 3? Tack sends in a tip and says, "Love the Flash. Felt like this movie proved the DCEU versions of the characters could exist in a warmer, more fun world. Next time I finish the Snyder trilogy, I will end it off with this. I'm not sad anymore that that OG DCU is ending. I'm happy that it happened." You know what I said? And a lot of people didn't understand. Sometimes I say things and I don't really explain what I mean. And I had said that I thought that the Flash was a nice capper to the Snyderverse. Because we're not going to get an official end to the Snyderverse. But there's so many elements of the Snyderverse that Zack Snyder cast, whether it was Jeremy Irons as Alfred, whether, it was Wonder Woman, and all the stuff that, and Ezra Miller themselves was cast by Zack Snyder. And this movie was fun, and it if we're never going to see any more Snyderverse movies, I mean, we got another one, because I consider It's weird to me because I consider everything that has Snyder cast characters in that part of the Snyderverse. Yeah, he didn't direct them, but he still cast those actors.
Introduced, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think we got Aquaman coming.
Yeah.
And to me, it's part of the Snyderverse.
When is that coming? Has that been pushed?
Christmas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, December 25th.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I'm hoping to see it. Shellcrow sends in a tip and says, I love Keaton as Batman, but did Birdman mean nothing? I loved Michael Keaton as Birdman. It won Best Picture. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
It was fantastic.
Did he win an award or was he just nominated?
I think he was just nominated. I don't think he won.
Okay.
But it was great. I loved him in that movie.
Mm-hmm. He was phenomenal in Birdman.
I thought so too. Here's a good question. Our first RRTNZ, all the way from NZ, New Zealand. Hail Bob Lael. I just saw The Flash. I went in expecting to hate it and disliking Miller's prior performance as Barry. I really enjoyed it. And Miller was solid, and I would definitely see it again.
Yeah, he was definitely solid. That's what I'm thinking. Here's the thing is, bro, people are going to take what they want from this film. And I understand that. And that's to be well respected. I think it's basically from a point of view and how you view it and how you see it. I enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed this film from beginning to end, opening sequence all the way up into the end. I really, really did. Because I think we got a chance to see a more mature Barry Allen, really looking back at his younger self, realizing there was a lot about him that needed to kind of mature, needed to kind of change. And he found himself through, looking back. And that's what I loved about it. I love the relationship, this the heartwarming relationship that he had with his mom. You know what I mean? Like that is, for any type of person whose family, that's just the way it is. I don't think in my opinion, I don't think it was misjointed. I don't feel as though it was a mess at all. I feel as though basically it was an easy, it was nice to follow. I think that basically things fit the way they were supposed to for the story that was being told. I love Michael Keaton's portrayal, as I always will. I think he's, just my Batman. I love Ezra Miller and their performance, Sasha's performance. I felt as though like there was weight there, again, whether there were some pacing issues here and there slightly, but other than that, I think I got from it what I wanted, but I can respect people who probably saw it a totally different way. That's completely understandable. That is. And I get it. That's why I'm like, you know what? I can respect that, but I might have a difference of opinion, but I can thoroughly respect that. But again, and here's the thing, like, again, I mean, will we see Ezra Miller back? That's left up to the creators and whoever thinks that these should succeed. We'll see.
Well said. Darth Plato asks, the opinion of all of you, is The Wizard of Oz a multiverse movie? I vote yes.
I think it is.
I think it. Yeah, definitely.
The book is terrifying. It is terrifying. Like the book is a horror show. I don't care what nobody says.
Oh yeah, no, it is
terrifying. And Dorothy is even viewed as a psychopath in a sense.
Right.
She is. Like literally, like when you read it, it's not the happy joy type of film that you think it is when you read that book. It's like, oh shit. But yeah, I do think it's a multiversal film. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I definitely believe that, bro. I do.
I like that. But it is multiverse. Scott Bartholomew would like to see Terry Metalis do an anthology Trek show. I just love to see Terry do another Trek show. I really would. I think it'd be great. Tom Jr. Jackson, our own moderator, says that scene with all the different Wait, I can't say that. Dude, I can't say that. Come on, we can't spoil it.
We kind of did earlier a little bit.
All right. That scene with all the different Supermen and Batman made me tear up because it was just so much fun and also excellently done. Mm-hmm. I love the movie. It was more of a montage though. But it was, I liked it. I thought it was a nice, it honored that whole live action tradition.
And you know what? I didn't think it's fucking crazy, bro, but I didn't think that the whole Nicholas Cage, I didn't think I was gonna like it as much, but I did. Like I was like, wow, like okay.
And it was kind of
I
like
would
a
have-
scene.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was like a scene, and it was homage to the original idea. But I was like, yo, that kind of, you know what I mean? They make sure that you know that really did exist. And I think it was a way of Muschietti saying, yeah, you motherfuckers didn't, y'all thought this was real. This was
Look,
some real shit.
I couldn't help but, having even been in his documentary, John Schnepp would have lost his shit.
He would have lost his mind, bro.
He would have lost it. And
Schnepp would have lost
if he had
his
made
mind,
that
bro.
documentary, I don't think it ever would have happened, because he brought to light all of that imagery of Nicolas Cage and stuff.
Yeah.
And doing that documentary, it was crazy. When I first saw it, I was like, no way.
Yeah.
I mean,
did it make you feel like, did it hit you in the feels a little
yeah,
bit?
dude. Because I was like just sitting there going, John Schnepp. If it wasn't for John Schnepp, that never would have happened. And he passed away 5 years ago, which I find difficult to believe.
Yeah.
But he did. So
yeah, and that scene, yeah, that was everything, bro. I'm pretty sure if he was in there and he saw that, he would have lost it, bro.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wraith X7 asks, have any of you ever seen the 80s sci-fi animated film Rock and Rule? Which, if memory serves, Rock and Rule, it was made in Canada by Nelvana, and it had people like Debbie Harry in it. It's 40 years old.
Damn.
And they brought that movie to America, and I forget the name, I don't remember the names of the characters because I haven't seen it, but Paul Lamont, the actor Paul Lamont, who's in like American Graffiti, they had him revoice one of the original actors. Rock and Roll's cool. It's an animated rock and roll
I've never
sci-fi
seen it.
movie.
Check it out. I definitely got to check that out.
Rock and Rule. It's pretty cool. It had a great poster. This big, like, it kind of looked like a, I don't know, there's a big despot, a big, like, I think like a jukebox or something. I don't remember, but it was a cool poster 40 years ago. Rock and Rule. Somebody's got to celebrate the 40th anniversary of that movie.
Yeah, definitely.
Ooh, Zachary Zabeli has a great question. Dealing with loss or potential loss, Wakanda Forever, Across the Spider-Verse, and The Flash. True pain is grief. That's a really great comment. I think all three of those movies do a pretty great job of dealing with loss.
Yeah. Yep. Each film deals with it in its own profound, unique way. We see Wakanda Forever and Shuri, having to deal with the loss of her brother, a nation having to deal with the loss of their king, a mother having to deal with the loss of her son and husband, and then a daughter having to deal with both the loss of her mom, her father, and her brother. Like that is in its own, and then having to carry the weight of a nation, that there's so much loss in that film, and so much of repenting and redemption, in a sense. And it's like a redeeming factor even in the end, where she discovers who she is, carrying as much hatred as she did have at one point. When you're looking at Into the Spider-Verse, loss, dealing with, again, I looked at this as like, yo, the loss that they're looking for, Miles has already experienced with his uncle, because he loved his and admired his uncle as much as he did, but also fearing loss, that the potential loss of his father, you know what I mean? And not knowing how we're going to see that in this next film, how, what's going to happen. This film, Flash, dealing with the, loss of his mother, dealing with the simple fact that his father's being blamed for a murder that he never committed. That right there, even the scene where he feels as though he's a failure, he's still carrying the weight of failure with him, not being able, the scene in the very beginning, when him explaining that he was there during the event of when Zod arrived and the Kryptonian, invasion at that time, he was dealing with that. So there's a lot of pressure. And then knowing that you could change something, and feeling that you are able to change it, and you're you have that excitement. The love is back, and you're like, I've done it, but then realizing that I shouldn't have done it, and I have to change it and experience that loss all over again. Like that's heavy.
Yeah,
Like that is really heavy, bro.
it was. Although I think, at the end of the movie, what I like about all three movies is they all leave you with a sense of hope,
Mm-hmm.
in a way.
Mhm.
And I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I thought
Yeah.
I thought that was good.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, bro. That anybody that deals with that and has ever have dealt with that, bro. That you know, but the thing is, it's like the most important thing is it has to be written right. That's the thing. As long as it's written right, it's cool. As long as you write it the right way, um, it's definitely cool. You know what I mean? I think they did a good job.
Yeah, I think so too. Scott Bartholomew asks, she says two things: that heavy metal was badass, and any movement this week on the writers' strike. Just more films going down, more films that have canceled independent movies that they've been picketed too much, so they've stopped shooting. From what I know, no one's talking to anybody, so no one's getting any closer to getting anything done, unfortunately, which is a bummer. But what can you do?
That's yeah. This is what I'm saying, bro. Like it's greed, bro. A lot of it is greed, and not on the writer's part, bro. It's not. All they're looking for is fair wages and some type of fair wages and right. It's like I never thought that we would. It's like exposing a lot. Put it that way. All
Yeah.
you want is fair wages and wages and benefits. But then it's exposing a lot that we knew about. We knew certain aspects of Hollywood and how it really was, but now you're seeing it for what it really, really is, bro, at face value and the greed that a lot of these individuals carry. And it's like that stain, that blemish will never go away. Like literally it won't.
Right.
It will not. This is the crazy thing, bro. Like, I don't know.
It's tough. It's a tough one. So what else, kids? What are your minds at? You want to call it early? You want to keep talking? You want to talk hot toys? What do you want? What do you want to say? What do you have?
What do you have besides the simple fact that your hair is billowing? What else do you have?
Well, it's not exactly anything I think you guys are interested in, but the final season of Outlander has started, and it is a time traveling romance fantasy story. It involves Claire, who is from our time period, and the man she falls in love with, Jamie Fraser, from the 1700s, and they have this kind of whirlwind romance, and it's fantastic program, and that started tonight. Was or rather last night. The final season, season 7. They'll be airing the 8 episodes for this year in 2023, and then the next 8 episodes for season 7 in 2024. And it was a fantastic episode. It was remarkable. So that is something that is definitely on my mind right now. The second thing that I'm thinking about is most of us just bought our tickets to the New York Comic Con. Lael, you picked yours up as well?
No.
Nice. He can't go. You said you weren't going to go, right?
Yeah, for right now. Well, here's the thing. So I didn't pick it up the first go around because we had to think about a couple of things because we got some things coming up that we had to kind of put forth first. But, I did talk to Vinny because I believe he's trying to get a table at Artist Alley. And if he's able to get that, I said that, once they release the tickets again, I'll probably try to get it for at least Saturday, Sunday. But it's just so much going on around that month. It's just like something had to give. So I don't know. We'll see. Right now we're in the we'll see stage. So
well, I just picked up a few tickets for that con and trying to figure out whether or not I'm going to go cosplay for that one as well. So that's another con. The next thing I'm thinking about is San Diego Comic-Con, which is coming up in July, literally just a few weeks from now. And looking to see what panels. They haven't announced them, but I was looking to see what panels would be at San Diego Comic-Con. I'm very excited about this one. It should be just absolutely spectacular this year. So those are some of the things that I was have been on my mind that's going on. So
Yeah.
I've got something it's kind of exciting, I guess. It's cool. Some friends of mine who I made for Enterprise with, like Mark Altman and a guy named Roger Lay Jr. and Scott Mance, if you guys know who Scott Mance is. They made a documentary called 1982, The Greatest Geek Year Ever. And they did it. It was crowdfunded. They finished it. And they sold it. It's going to be on the CW. Starting in like 3 weeks, and it's four episodes long, and I'm in, I guess, all 4 episodes.
Word.
So that's going to be airing, and also no one's going to care about this, but Kyoto, who is a Japanese model company, is releasing a model they made in 1989 that I always wanted, but it was way too expensive to buy, and it's the biggest Godzilla model I've ever seen, and they're reissuing it, and here it is. Here's this Godzilla. I've wanted to get this Godzilla since 1989. Here, Liz, so you guys can see it. There is the Godzilla model. And and I here are the pieces. You have to build it and paint it, but I'll get somebody to paint it for me. But hey, it'll probably cost like $10,000.
Wow, that's incredible looking.
I know, right?
Damn. This is crazy, bro.
I know. So yeah, I'm gonna be on the CW. So that's cool.
Word. When does it air?
I think it starts airing like on July 8th. It's called 1982, The Greatest Geek Year Ever, and there's a lot of filmmakers because it's everything from, Blade Runner. From May to July of '82, you had Rocky III, Star Trek II, Poltergeist, Blade Runner, The Thing, Tron, E.T., Road Warrior. John Carpenter's The Thing and Blade Runner opened on the same day. So that's just a couple of months. And it's really great. So there's a combination of all the filmmakers that worked on these movies and then pundits and people talking about them and seeing them for the first time and what it all meant. So that's going to be cool. And
it's gonna be dope.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool. So that'll be on, and it's funny because they made that again. Like they made it. Was it pre-pandemic? They made it a long time ago, and they were cutting it for a long time because there was a lot of editorial to do. But they finished it. So that's that, my friends. I'm very excited about it. I think
Fantastic, Robert. Congratulations.
Yeah, it's cool.
Oh, yeah.
It's just more grist for the mill. And I can't really talk about what it is, but today, actually this evening, I got some news that a project that I've been trying to get made for a decade that I've never really talked about sort of came back into orbit today. So it's something I was really passionate about that now we maybe could make it happen.
It's part of the discussion now. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's part of the discussion, and I'll tell you more about it in the coming weeks. We shall see.
Hell yeah.
It's exciting.
Yeah, there's all kinds of interesting things. And then, of course, the channel, goes on, and we got Let's Get Physical Media. We got what RM is doing. Lana Ewan's reviewing The Hunger this weekend. We got new Architects of Imagination. We got all kinds of things. So all good.
Yeah.
So like, subscribe, smash that like button, become a member. Que Pasa PGS, I think, is tomorrow.
Yes.
And it's 97% Spanish. So that's good. And so who knows? Join the channel. Just like, subscribe, hit that notification button. I never say that, but now I can say it.
Oh yeah, why not? You can definitely say that shit.
Yeah. Well, then after that, I mean, we don't have to stay on. You guys are tired. It's 2:30 in the morning where you are.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it is late.
And I had a long week. We don't have to stay on for 3 hours. We can get off now.
Yeah, we can definitely do that.
I know Lael's like falling asleep. I gotta go to bed.
I don't
I
mind
am
that.
tired. So
all right,
but
kids.
It's such a wonderful time with both of you and everybody in the chat and everybody. Thank you.
Hell yeah.
Everyone. It's always so wonderful to do the show.
Hell yeah.
All right, you kids, I will let you go. Have a good evening. And next week, of course, and all your shows this week, and we'll talk.
And make sure, please, everybody make sure that if you haven't already, please subscribe. If you haven't, subscribe to the 1/6 Scale Man YouTube channel. We are on our way to 4,000 subscribers. I would appreciate it from the bottom of my heart if you can subscribe. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the 1/6 Scale Man YouTube channel. That's all I want you to do. Please. Thank you.
Yeah, everybody, do that right now. Do it. Do it now.
Do it now,
Absolutely. And Positive Fandom as well. If you guys check out my channel, I do appreciate that as well. And to the Burnettwork.
And also, let me just tell you guys, Black Mirror season 6 dropped. I watched the shortest episode. That it wasn't good. I hear that it's only iffy, but yeah, it was, but that doesn't mean it's not all bad. But I want to check it out because I love Black Mirror. I'm looking forward to it. We got Secret Invasion starting. You've got Star Trek Strange New Worlds, and I thought next week's episode was great, even though it's problematic and it's not perfect, but I did like it very, very much. And tune on in to that. So there's lots of cool stuff happening. Go see The Flash and all that. Charlie the Unicorn says I have a hot date. Yeah, I'm going to unbox another figure. Woohoo! Which is always good. All right, kids, well, I will let you both go.
Bye.
And peace out. All right, so you guys go away. That was a great show. Now I've got a few more chats to address. Scott Bartholomew says he can't wait for the next offering from Otoy. I know, me neither, but they only made 3 movies in like a year, which is a bummer. And I should have asked. Oh, I'm sorry, I got rid of them. Stephen Burrow. Thoughts on The Blackening? Okay, The Blackening is a new movie that's coming out. Looks like it's a horror comedy. It looks awesome. I think The Blackening looks awesome. I think we're getting. Okay, there's a couple of things. The Blackening is one. Bottoms is another. And I can tell you, Joyride is a third. So I think there's these 3 comedic films that I can't wait to see. And The Blackening looks really good. I think it looks really good. And I've heard it's pretty good, too. So I haven't seen it, but I hope it's good. I want it to be good. And on that note, I think I've taken care of everybody. Yeah, I think it looks that way. I think I'm going to end the show early. I know I'm not going to bring on any randos, only because I can't. I have too much work I have to do, and I've got to go take care of something now. But I want to thank everybody for generously supporting the channel via Super Chats and tips. I want to thank all my members. No member call this week, member call next week. Those member calls are always fun. I want to thank Tom Jr. Jackson for being the great moderator that he is and making another. I didn't really realize it, but Tom Jr. Jackson's making sure that I'm going to throw in my towel into the ring of the 2024 presidential election. And I'm going to run on a tinfoil hat conspiracy campaign. And I hope you'll all donate to my campaign. And I'm going to do a whistle stop tour of all the great action figure stores across America. I'm going to go to all the action figure stores, all the 7-Elevens, all the comic book stores. And you tell me. We'll do the. By the way, I'm kidding about that. I know some people are going to be like, really? No, not really. But it's kind of funny if you watch or look at Tom Jr. Jackson's. He made one last week. He made me this last week. And but as long as we're fucking, that's absolutely right. That's my campaign slogan. We're going to change the world as long as we're fucking. That's my campaign slogan. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, gentle beings, kind souls, however you identify across these the 28 known galaxies, I would say to you, remember, every person you meet has a story to tell that you have yet to hear. And all you have to do is listen. And with that, I would say to all of you, have a better night.